Once again, thank you for joining another episode of the Comfort and Chaos podcast, where we engage in our normal chaos of our daily functions and daily lives and ways we seek comfort and get through them. And once again, I'm joined by my battle buddy, fellow senior leader, operate with and work with on a daily basis. Once again, Q from the last one.
Hello. Hey, yes. Thank you again for having me. As I said the previous episode, I am Q Wilcox, host of Mediocre Dads. And again, all links will be at the bottom. So if you are interested in learning more about my experience as a father and how maybe my experience can help you and impact you better and maybe shift your thinking, then go take a look at us or take a listen of my channel, Mediocre Dads.
There you go. Too easy. Now we kind of brushed on it last time. Mediocre Dads. Last time you kind of told us a story, on basically some setbacks that you experienced in your military career and amongst your family and some life decisions. But and you had briefly kind of touched on Mediocre Dads, but now I would like, if you can, so what is the concept behind Mediocre Dads?
So truthfully, man, I started Mediocre Dads because for the longest time I wanted to start a podcast. And I don't know if that's cliche because, everyone has a podcast now, so like,
yeah, no shit.
You know what I mean? And I didn't want it to be something that just everyone, I was following the crowd, you know what I mean? So I had to really take a moment to think about it. And I'm kind of like one of those people, I feel late to the game when I could have been doing the podcast thing, but because I came up with this idea like 2 years ago. But anyway, nonetheless, with Mediocre Dads, I wanted to something that I was passionate about and something that I knew that I could talk about for hours, basically. And that was being a dad and how much being a dad meant to me. Okay. And I'm not going to lie to you, initially, I was kind of going with a completely different direction. I was like, I could go like the whole, the red pill stuff, like the manly stuff and helping men do all and be more manly.
Whoa. Why do you call that red pill?
That's what they call it. Isn't that called a red pill?
I don't know.
I think it's red pill. I say red pill the Andrew Tate
from the Matrix. The red pill, blue pill.
Yeah, well, that's the whole.
That's what I think.
That's why they say it. That's why he's like the Matrix.
So which one is the bad one?
That's a great question. I think the blue one was the bad one.
Well, the way you worded it, you made it sound like the red pill.
Well, okay, so that's like I'm
just giving you shit, man.
No,
For the record,
I know.
guys, I'm just giving him shit.
Okay, you got me thinking. I was like, you don't know what the red pill is, like.
But I'm sure some of you guys are probably thinking the same thing. So
okay, so yeah, so I initially that's kind of what the where I was going to go with it, and then I was like, honestly, I don't have a lot to say on that. You know what I mean? I don't know if I could do several episodes on that, but then also I don't have a following like Andrew Tate or. Myron on what is his show called? He does the Fresh and Fit. Like I don't have a following like Fresh and Fit and all them. So like I was like, and I'm not brazen like they are. Then they could just come out and be like, call a bitch, and I'm like, nah, I'm good, man. Well, I mean, I'm not cool. I'm not that type of person that could do that. In your
defense, you also swore time out of your own life to protect and serve a country.
Right. They definitely go.
They did not.
Yeah, no, 100%. So different lifestyles.
There's that. So that alone already, in my mind, puts you in a whole different category. There's not even a close comparison. So you can have literally. And I say this before, but there's literally CEOs and billionaires who could not put what we have done on their resume. They cannot.
Right. No, 100%.
And experience what we experience. You cannot pay for that.
Nope.
So that's something you can take pride in,
Yeah. And so truthfully, that was one of the things where, geez, I hope I didn't mess that up here. So that was one of the things I was thinking about. I was like, I wanted to do something that that had value and that meant something. And I, like I said, I kind of already felt like that this whole thing of being a man's man was already being done.
Nice.
So my approach was different, and whether it was the Lord speaking to me, and he just the Holy Spirit gave me an idea. I was like, I'm going to talk about being a dad. And that just stuck with me. And then I kind of ran with it. And so funny, I came up with Mediocre Dads out of a joke with my wife.
Okay.
So the initial was like fatherly teachings, right? Something really, I'm glad I didn't go with fatherly teachings, right?
Yeah.
That is a little
I'm
tacky.
glad you didn't go that way either.
But then, I was doing I was doing a search on Instagram. I was kind of looking for Instagram tags, and I searched fatherly teachings, and there was a bunch of stuff that came up. And I was like, all right, maybe not that. So then I was like, what can I use? Something catchy that's kind of like get people to like want to click on it. And I was like, what about Mediocre Dads? Or I was like, Mediocre Fathers, Mediocre Dads. I was like, what's chickens? And there was like one bogus account of Mediocre Dads. It had 0 posts on it. And I was like, you know what? I'm going with Mediocre Dads. So I told my wife, I was like, hey, I changed my podcast name to Mediocre Dads. And she goes, I guess. And I was like, oh my gosh, I thought this was so good. I thought it was a great idea. And she just shot me in the heart.
How hard did that feel?
It hurt.
Yeah, exactly.
It hurt. I was like, dang, I thought I'm not saying I'm a lyrical genius here, but I thought I was like, man, that was a pretty good idea. And so
I think so. That's a very catchy name. But at the same time, though, too, I also think, and I mean, from a female perspective, though, it's more of like they're not fathers, so they're just like, this must cater to only one audience. So I could kind of see the logic in her response.
Yes, definitely. I definitely think that is part of it, where it was like, okay, Mediocre Dads, I guess, whatever it is. But then it stuck, you know what I mean? And then, my daughter, I did my first 2 episodes, and then my daughter was like, oh, I want to do Mediocre Kids. And then my wife was like, oh, and then her friend was like, oh, we can do Mediocre Moms. And I was like, all right, well, listen, I love the enthusiasm behind this, and the whole, you got the juices flowing, everybody's coming with ideas. Let's let Mediocre Dads do his thing first before we get too crazy.
Slow down a little bit.
And also, I don't want my kids in front of cameras posting on YouTube, and not just yet. Maybe later down the line, if that's something they would like to do. I hope they don't aspire to be a YouTuber one day, but I hope they aspire to do something else, and then maybe do this on the side if that's really what they really want to do. But anyway, no. So Mediocre Dads. Being a dad, and I say this on my show all the time, being a dad is the best job for me. And it's the reason I am what I am, if that makes sense.
No, it makes sense, dude.
Being a dad means so much to me, and it has a lot to do with the fact that when I was adopted when I was 2, and me and my brother were adopted when we were 2, and we have a dad. I have a dad. I know, he's not my birth dad, but he's the dad who adopted me and took care of me and raised me and made me the man who I am today. But I remember being a kid, growing up, and when I got in trouble, crying and saying, I want my parents. And I'm thinking of the parents who gave birth to me. Like, why could they just so easily give up on me? And thinking that, at one point they were going to come save us. Save us being because we were in trouble, we were being bad kids, and well, they're gonna come pick us up, and then you can't do anything about it. Ha, gotcha. Being a naive kid, if you will. So yeah, no, I, for the longest time, I was like, I want to know what, why I am the way I am, and where my quirks come from, which one of my parents, is it my birth dad, is it my birth mom? And so when I got older and the opportunity arose for me to essentially interact with my birth dad, he wanted nothing to do with us.
Really?
And this dude has a whole litter of a family, and for a little while we were friends on Facebook. And there was never, he friend requested me on Facebook, and I'm thinking he's going to message me, let him know who he is, and kind of, you know, want to have a conversation similar to what I did with my birth mom. Nothing. Radio silence. We were friends on Facebook for a couple of years, and not a single message or a single comment on any pictures or anything to say hello or hey, beautiful family, whatever the case might be. Almost as if he was waiting on me to message him as if I owed him something. Yeah. When it's the other way around. You brought me into this world. Like, so my birth parents were 15 when they had me and my brother. Oh, so I was like, y'all brought us into this world. The obligation is on you to speak to me and let me know what was going on, not the other way around. And so, you know, so that stung. That stung for a while. I was 16. So that stung for like a long time.
Oh, I can imagine.
But growing up, I knew in the back of my mind, there was one thing that I always wanted to do, and I wanted to be a dad because I wanted to prove to myself and to him that I could be 10 times better dad than he is. Oh, wow. Than he ever is. And like I said, he has a family. Like, he has his own family.
He has his own life.
He has his own life and his kids. But that time we were friends on Facebook, he would post things. And this is going to sound like really mean. Well, I guess I don't care. He's illiterate. He is illiterate. So, you know, he's, 15 years older than I am. Yeah. Grown man, and you're illiterate. And so, like, a lot of his posts were like mentioning, gang-related activities, if you will, right? Yeah. And so he would always mention at the end of what he was saying what he was saying, like his affiliation, and I was just like, "You are a grown man. Ain't no one cares. No one cares. No one cares, bro. Like that, the Bloods and Crips are not like what they used to be. I'm not like trying to, mess with any gangs, but I'm just saying, like, no one cares. You know what I mean? And so, but I guess that was his lifestyle. And I would see pictures of his family and how he's like, oh, gotta love my family and always hang out together. And I was like, yeah, and I'm gonna be a better dad than you are.
So let me ask, when was adopted at 2? Right.
So we moved into to their home at 2 and officially adopted at 6.
Okay. And a twin. Yep. Okay. Now, how much time? So when did you first engage your birth father?
Like, speak to him?
Yeah. Like, when did you first try to initiate contact?
Never. I never tried.
So how did you guys find each other on Facebook?
Oh, so my birth mom reached out to my mom on Facebook, and I guess she had been looking for years, and she had finally found some paperwork that said their names on it. So just did the search, and then obviously there's a bunch of Susie and Seth Wilcox on social media. Okay, they're my parents. Don't go find them. My mom won't add you anyway. Yeah. Anyway, so looking for these people on social media, on Facebook, and looking for a white family with 2 black kids, and I mean, it sounds weird, but that's what she was looking for. I know that's what she was looking for. Yeah. And sure enough, she found it, right? And so she messaged my mom, basically sent her a whole thing, said who she was, and blah, 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 and said, I would like to speak to them if you're okay with that. She got my mom's permission before she just reached out to us on Facebook, because we and my brother had our Facebook at the time. Yeah. And so she reached out to her, had a conversation with us. We come home one day from school, and so me and my brother weren't the greatest kids in high school. And so we come home, she's like, hey, I need you guys to go to the kitchen. Let's go sit down. We need to have a talk. So me and him look at each other and I'm like, bro, what did you do? He's like, I didn't do anything. What did you do? I was like, bro, we were good today. I don't know what's going to happen, but all I know is I'm not getting blamed for your nonsense. So, like, if you did something stupid today or 2 weeks ago, you better let them know, because I'm not paying for your stuff, right? I'm not getting in trouble for you. And so we went to the kitchen table and sat down, and she was like, you could tell she was a little nervous. And she was like, hey, so your birth mom basically messaged me on Facebook, and she would like to speak to you guys. And like, it's in that moment where you're like, you didn't hear her. You're like, I'm sorry, what did you say?
What did you say?
She was like, yeah, like your birth mom messaged me, said she wants to speak to you guys. She goes, I did do some research to confirm more or less that she is who she says she is, and that this is in fact the person who gave birth to you guys. She goes, you do not have to speak to her, but I think it would be best if you did.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so, because they had put us in counseling all growing up, because wanting to know more and wanting us to open up and wanting to see if we were impacted more than we gave off, if that made sense.
Mm-hmm.
If that makes sense right there. So then finally it was like, hey, if you want to, feel free to reach out to her. This is her Facebook, and you can message her, and I'll let her know that she can send you friend requests, and you guys can accept them, and you can have a conversation. So we're like, me and brother are like, yeah, I guess. We're kids. We're not really thinking past that moment right there. We're just kind of like, yeah, sure. So we become friends, and then we on our own accord, like on my own Facebook and his own Facebook, he's messaging her, I'm messaging her. I have my list of questions. He has his list of questions.
Yeah.
Now, I didn't ask my brother what his list of questions were, but I knew what my list of questions were. The moment she said that, I was like, bet, I already know what I'm going to ask.
What was your first question?
What happened?
If you can remember. What happened?
What happened? Oh, I remember. I remember basically every question I asked. I was like, what happened? Basically, like, I have one memory. And it's not even a memory of a specific person. It's a memory of being in a car in a car seat. And those old, I think it was a Lincoln. I think this Lincoln, where they had essentially they had the bench in the front, the bench seat in the front, but it was a sedan, if you will, and then the back seat in the back. And I remember it was a red cloth seats. Just I have a memory seared in my head. It's seeing red cloth seats. And wow. The radio was on. I couldn't tell you what the song it was. I think it was like almost like a gospel.
Okay.
Maybe gospel music, but again, I was a baby, so memories are whatever they are at that time. But that's the only memory I have of ever being like that. That's not a memory from being with my parents. That's a memory from when I was
basically your earliest memory.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Wow.
So I don't. Oh, truthfully, I've never. I think I've told like that to people like once or twice. But yeah. Anyway, I asked what happened. That was my first question. I asked what happened.
That's
like, hey,
crazy.
So what happened? I need to short and skinny.
I mean, it makes sense. It definitely makes sense.
Followed up with, so did you have any other kids? Yeah. Okay. How old are they? And she told me how old the oldest one was, and I did the math. I was like, all right, so 6 years. 6 years afterwards. I was like, dope. So what took you so long?
Wow.
Because legitimately, I was like, listen, 6 years after your your twin sons, like having twins is a big deal. It would be I could consider it different if I was born and then a year later he was born, and was kind of like, we had that different time gap, but we're identical twins.
Yeah, dude. Twins is a whole different game. So
you don't forget that you had us. That's not a thing that you just forget and we're like, it is what it is. So I asking what happened, going through the line of questioning, and then she gave me her answers. Her answers are, it's her truth, if you will. Like I was there at the capacity of a baby, so I can't really judge or articulate enough to be like, no, actually, this is what I saw. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, I was a baby, so I couldn't tell you any otherwise. So that's what the story was. Honestly, I was hoping my birth dad would have messaged me so I can get his side, because there are always two sides to the story. Yeah. Because they were 15, they weren't bound to stick together anyway. Yeah. And so, because I got a story of what of kind of what my parents articulated to us of like what was the case. They were 15, weren't responsible enough.
They're
to
kids.
Raise you. Yeah, they're kids, and
kids.
I'm 16 at the time. when they're messaging me, so I kind of understand. Like, I imagine having a kid a year ago, or twins for that matter. Oh,
Dude.
bro, I wouldn't even know what to do. So, like, I kind of understand. Like, your priorities are not on kids. Your priorities definitely on you want to go hang out with your friends, you want to stay out late and do all the things, whatever you do at that age, depending where you're from. So I understood it, but still, in my head, and it's always in my head of like, when you become a parent, you immediately become responsible for someone else. Someone else's well-being now becomes your responsibility. Regardless of how old you are, you better suck it up and you better figure it out. It's going to take you longer if you're younger, but like it's going to pay off for you in the long run because you have to figure it out now.
Yeah.
It's kind of like when I would say, well, let's go back to the Civil War, right? The American Revolution. Like the kids joining the military, like there was no, hey, you're 18, go fight. I think it was more like 15, 16, you know how to hold a gun.
It was like, you can hold a gun.
Yeah, like you're going to go
move and you can communicate. Yeah.
You're going to go figure it out. You know what I mean? So like they were in war and they had to figure out war, and then they had to figure out their life after war. A lot harder than it is now, but still, nonetheless, they had to figure that out. So my mindset is kind of similar to that matter. Like you chose to have sex, and you chose that you're gonna have unprotected sex, and I understand consequences. I've been dealing with consequences my entire life because essentially, I was a consequence of someone else's actions who didn't think about the consequences of what their actions could be. So I understand consequences. I've always understood that. So therefore, I was like, in my mind, like, hey, you did something, there's consequences. So now you have to deal with those consequences. You have to be able to live with those consequences, and you have to figure it out. So that's my mindset. I mean, but I guess I'm different because that's not everybody.
No, man.
That's not everybody else.
Yeah, I mean,
so.
it definitely makes sense. And coming from an upbringing like that, and with that logic behind you, like, it makes sense, why you would come up with the name Mediocre Dads, and why you emphasis on that whole idea of, hey, there's an importance to being a father. You know, and being present. Now, when I say present, obviously, there's different forms of presence, but it doesn't hide behind the fact of being present, whether it be social media. Obviously, in today's age, we have multiple forms of presence, and I know as a father myself, my son lives in a whole other state. Yeah. And, granted, it didn't work out between me and his mom, but being in the military already has its challenges, but being in the military as a single father, also has its challenges. Yeah. But I know that, hey, I got to capitalize on that same form of, I got to figure out a way to be present, and I got to make sure that my son knows that he has a father, and his father is present in every shape and form, and it makes sense. It definitely makes sense, So with your brother, does he share the same? I mean, as a twin, do you guys, I would assume, I'm just curious, does he share the same point of view towards your mother and father as you do, or
like our birth parents?
Yes.
So I'm gonna be honest, and this is probably the weirdest part for a lot. It might be weird to hear from a lot of people. Me and him really haven't discussed it, and we don't.
Really?
We don't. We have, because I think fundamentally we have different opinions on the matter. So, for example, he's met our birth mom and our half siblings, if you will.
Okay.
They're half siblings. He's met them because they still live in, as far as I'm aware, they still live in Nevada. So he's met them. He went out there, met them, did the whole shebang, and he was like, hey, you want to go out there with me? And we can meet them. And I was like, just my birth mom, not my birth dad. My birth dad gave him the similar treatment. But, he was like, you want to go out there with me and meet them? I was like, nah, man, I'm good. And he was like, oh, what do you mean? He always questions me. But I was like, hey, man, I said, I'm not going to lie to you, man. I was like, I know who my parents are. And that's Seth and Susie. The time for me has passed, for where I wanted to know, essentially who I was through them. I was like, that time for me has passed. I was like, I know my parents. I know who I am. And this has a lot to do with the fact that I got married when I was 19, and then me and my wife we had my first daughter when I was 22, going on 23. So like mentally, I'm in a completely different space.
Yeah, you're in a different headspace.
You know, and he's still on the mindset of like, got some girlfriends, going out partying. He was in DC, then he was in Germany, which is nothing wrong with that. He's able to do those things, and you know, he's single, so why not explore different countries? You're in the military. That's one of the perks of being in the military. And so, but we were in a different headspace, and I was like, yeah, man. I was like, personally, I was like, I know who my parents are, and I was like, I don't need to meet her or these my half siblings to essentially find out more about who I am. Because I think for him, it had to do a lot more to do with knowing and understanding who he is and where he came from.
Okay.
And how he wanted to know who he was understanding where he came from. That's just my assessment of overanalyzing my brother. I could be totally wrong. So Queese, if that's not the case, I'm sorry, but that's just my psychoanalysis of you and what I believe was the case for you. And so yeah, like, so for me, I was like, nah, I'm good. I have no intent of ever meeting them. And even to this day, I send her some updates, some photos of the girls. And she sends birthday presents for both of them.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So yeah, it's like I guess, you know, since she knows where I live, but she has my address because she sends gifts to the girls, and then we might say hello, exchange pleasantries every once in a while, but other than that, that's kind of like the extent of our relationship, and that probably will be the extent of our relationship for the remainder of my life until I'm probably in a different place, and said a few different years, and in a few years I'm in a different place. I'm like, well, maybe it's time for me to kind of explore that. But as of right now, no, I'm good. So,
wow.
a lot of people, I know it kind of hurts her because she doesn't want to hear that, you know, because she calls me, you know, her son, and I'm like, yeah, I am your son. You know, I'm your, you know, you gave birth to me. You blood, and you know, you went through the birthing, you know, or the C-section, but you went through that to give birth to us, and so like I respect that because I've seen my wife give birth, so I understand that emotional attachment. But for me, it's not there. So.
Gosh, man, that's got to be tough. That's got to be tough. And I mean, I got to admit, it's definitely tough when you hear it as a parent, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, you do. That's one of those things where it's like, dude, because I know somebody could be watching this, you know, who is a mother, you know, and those motherly instincts, you know, and behaviors just kick in, and it's like, man, but you're like her son, you know, you know.
Yeah. And for a lot of people, that's what it is. Whenever I have no issue. I'm a sharer, I guess, if that's the best way to explain myself. I'm a sharer, so I have no problem sharing my life story and sharing my things that have happened to me in my life. And so when people hear this, they're like, oh my gosh, but she's your mother. And I'm like, you know, sure, she gave birth to me. I was like, but my mother lives in Arizona. That's who my mother is.
Yeah.
And that's who it is for me. Saying that, I know from, again, we're both parents, we're both dads. So saying that, obviously I know that and hearing that from a child to a parent perspective, her hearing this, probably it stings a lot. And I don't get me wrong, I know, and I don't say it to be mean. I don't say it to be malicious and say, I want you to, almost as like I'm making you pay for all those years that you were supposed to be present with me, right?
Yeah.
That you weren't. But God has a plan for everyone, and everything happens for a reason. And being adopted was a blessing, right? It was a blessing. And I know, again, it stings for her because she obviously wanted, if she was capable, wanted to raise me and my brother. But that's not what God had in store for us. And so we we were adopted and we were raised by another family, and that's who I identify as who my family is, through thick and thin. And so, like, for me, when I forming familial bonds is not, it never is it has to be a blood thing, because my family has never been blood related to me. It's always been of, how do they treat me? How do they respect me? And how, when times get hard, what do they do? So that is what what forming a familial bond for me has always been. And so I guess it's a lot easier for me to form familial bonds with people than it is for a lot of people. But yeah, like I said, I don't do it to be malicious. I don't say those things to be malicious. But
and I'm not trying to point it off.
Yeah,
I hope it's not coming off that way.
No.
I can tell you right now, from at least my own form of chaos that I experience in the realm of a separated father in the military, it was always accepting the fact that eventually, I know his mom was going to move on, and there's going to be another man there, and it was tough in the beginning. It was definitely tough for me to comprehend and understand that no matter where I am, I don't get to wake up and start my day with my son, and I don't get to end my day with my son. But somewhere out there, another man gets to have that privilege.
Yep.
And that's my son. I'm doing everything I can to be present in his life, but you, by default, automatically have that time allotted to you. I have to apply myself and work for that time, So I'll tell you right now, man, for me, that was tough, dude. Oh, it was tough, man. I mean, I was definitely in a bad space for a while, and it took some time to process, and a lot of conversations with certain mentors and individuals that were just like, dude, here it is. Here's the black and white, So hearing whenever it breaks my heart whenever I hear about a parent who just can like wave their child off,
Yes.
And it breaks my heart because I'm like, dude, I've been in that situation, and I wish I can go to the point where you have that option, because it shouldn't even be a choice. Like, it shouldn't even be like, you don't even have to think about it. That's your kid.
You have to have I know it sounds bad, but to have the ability to say, I'm going to ignore you for the rest of the night because you're just like irritating me, and then I'll see you tomorrow, is weird, right? Because again, for you especially, like, you don't have the luxury of waking up in the morning and be like, hey, yesterday I was kind of an asshole, and I'm sorry for that, and I hope you can forgive me, and I will actually think we have a great day planned today. I think we're going to go to the arcade. I say that because I'm going to the arcade tomorrow, but I think we're going to
arcade. Nice.
Yeah. We're going to go arcade because she's been asking to go to it. It's her favorite thing to do. I play the claw. If you see me at the arcade, I'm playing the claw game. I know it's a scam. They're taking my money. But my wife knows I will spend $50 in that claw machine, and I will win. I'll win at one point. I may not win in the beginning, but I'll win. I'll spend $50. I have no shame doing it. So wish me luck tomorrow. But yeah, it's having that luxury. You know what I mean? It's different. So for you though, right? I have a question for you, and this I've been keeping it in the back of my mind for a while now. So when you don't, obviously your ex has sole custody, if you will, of your son. And so you see him when you do. Do you think there'll ever be a moment where he will identify that man that's in your ex's life now as dad? Or will it, do you have that conversation where you're like, hey man, like, I'll always be your dad, and there's someone else in that, there might be someone you see him on a daily basis, but you don't want to disparage him and discourage him from ever talking to him, because he, in some way, he is that fatherly figure on a daily basis, if that makes sense. All right. I hope that question makes sense. I hope it's not a loaded question.
No, it does. No, and that's a great question. So he's definitely at the point where he knows who his father is.
Okay.
And he doesn't even call him dad. You know, he doesn't because she's moved on. She's remarried, you know, and he has they have a child together, you know. So he's accepted his role as a big brother. You know, that's his brother. Mm-hmm. But he does know who his father is, you know, and that's something that is very encouraging to me. And I take a lot of pride in, you know, because even now we'll FaceTime, we'll play video games together. And when we spend our time together, I know this because I can see it when it's time to say goodbye. You know, that's when it really kicks in, because you can see it, because he tries so hard to hide his tears, or he tries so hard to try to be this tough guy, you know,
show you that he's a man.
Yeah. You know, and he's always got something to prove when he's around me. Like I can see it, you know, I can see it. But I honor it. I respect it, and I let him know that, you know, I'm your father, you know, and I'm proud to be your father. So everything you do, you know, I'm proud of you, you know, and when you mess up, I'm going to be there to tell you messed up.
Yep.
I'm going to be there to tell you messed up. So don't feel like just because you engage this new challenge, or you messed up, or somebody around you messed up, you know, don't feel like you can't come and talk to me, you know, because I promise you, you're going to get through it, you know, and as your father, I will guide you through it, you know, and he knows that, and he shows it. And so I take pride. I take a lot of pride. It hits you in a special spot.
Yeah.
Let me tell you, it does. It does. We both kind of just are like, you know, when we're saying our goodbyes, we both have those like, we turn our heads opposite directions, like dust in our eyes. I got dust in my eye, Dad. I'm like, yeah, I got that same dust, Mio. You know, it came in, you know, but I do. I mean, I take pride in that fact, you know, but it is tough. It is tough, you know, and to all those fathers who have that honor and privilege to be able to wake up with your child every day, you know, take pride in every moment and every day, because let me tell you, there are fathers out there who don't get that. And it'll, you know, and it's funny because in our job, obviously, and in the military, you know, divorce is already at a high rate.
Oh yeah.
In our society, but in the military, I feel like it's a whole nother level. It's almost like if you're going to make it in the military, you got to at least have at least one or two divorces under your belt, you know, to add to your resume.
It's my biggest fear. It's
Dude.
my biggest fear. I, you know, when me and my wife first got married, and so again, I mentioned this earlier, I was 19.
Yeah, that's young.
She was 18.
Oh, that's young, dude.
So let me set the scene, right? I met my wife when I was in 6th grade. She was in 5th grade. Now, okay, she's gonna tell you if she watches my videos or these videos. She's gonna tell you that she wasn't flirting with my brother, but she was, because when I met her, I went to the bathroom, and then sure enough, there's Queese out there in front of the bathrooms talking to a girl. And who was the girl? My wife.
Oh,
right?
Man.
However, so I walk up and I'm like, hey, what's up, bro? Me and him, we had our own handshake, dabbed each other up, whatever, doing our thing. And then I look over at her, I thought it was big pimping back then. Listen, I finally acknowledged her, if you will. I was like, who who are you? And she, we were sixth graders. She was fifth grader. She was like, oh, I'm Aubrey. And I was like, all right, cool. Hey, Queez, I'm going to the bathroom. Are you good here? What's up? He's like, nah, I'm good. He's like, hey, have a good one. Left. And I'll never forget it. I never forget meeting her because that's the first time that I ever actually met her. Right. And, but she will tell you and everybody else, I don't remember that. That's not true. That's not what's happening. He was flirting with you or hitting on you, and then you were flirting back because she was blushing like a mug.
Snap, the twin.
I know she was
going after the twin
but
brother.
she didn't know it. She did, but who I knew.
Who's taller?
He is.
Okay, that's probably what it was.
You know what's funny? We grew up thinking that he was the older twin because our documents, our adopted documents said that he was the older twin, and then come to find out. My birth mom made a post and she was like, I just want to take a moment to acknowledge my eldest son. And I go, Queez, that's me. And he goes, yeah, but I'm the oldest. And I was like, nah, bro, that's me. So we messaged her. This was like fresh week 2 of we just started talking to her. And we messaged like, hey, who's older? Like, it seems like such an absurd question to ask because we thought we had it all figured out. And she goes, well, Quan's older. And I was like, bro, my entire life has been a lie. I didn't find out until I was 17 years old that I was actually the oldest twin.
Now,
and
how much older?
Older being by a few seconds, but I need you to know those few seconds mean so much more. Okay, so when we were in high school, I have to keep to my main point because she was flirting with my brother. I'm going to get back to that. But when we were in high school, and I'd always seemed like we were both immature, but because we were in high school. Yeah. So we were like every other high school kid who's immature. But it always seemed like there was a level of maturity that I had that he didn't. And so I would always explain to people, I was like, he's the older. They're like, who's older? And I was like, he is, but I'm a little bit more mature than he is. And they're like, yeah, I can see that. And everybody agreed. They're like, I can see that. It just seems like you're a little more mature than he is. And, obviously me being older, if you will. Yeah. My brain has developed further than his has in that aspect. So when I was 17, I was like, it all makes sense now. It all makes sense to me why I'm just that much more mature than he is. Not much, not a lot, but just that much more mature. That was noticeable for people. They'll be like, he seems a little bit more mature as a twin, but they both still do dumb stuff. So, but yeah, no. So anyway, he is taller than me. He's slightly taller than me, slightly bigger than me. He threatens to fight me all the time. Ooh. And I tell him, I was like, hey, bro, you have my address. You are always welcome. I was like, just know I'm going to beat you up. I'm going to call you little bro. I'm going to feed you. I'm going to let you stay at my place. And then I'll send your ass home. I will fold you. Now he's going to see this and he's going to be like, hey, man.
Oh, hell no.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
I'm on my way.
We got in several fights when we were in high school. But anyway, let me go back to my main point. This is the ADHD moment. So
she was flirting.
She was flirting with him. And so that's when I first met my wife. Now.
Okay, wait a minute. What classifies as flirting now?
He was hitting on her. And now I know that because I know my brother. And I know when he's looking, what he's looking.
Dude, she was in the 6th grade.
5th grade, yeah. No.
I mean, flirting is like...
I understand that. But she will never live this down. You are my wife now. And you were flirting with my twin brother. Ooh. That's a no-go. So we were going to the same church. So I knew her parents. Her parents worked in the youth ministry. Her dad did, and not necessarily her mom, but I knew who her parents were. And they knew who me and Queez were. Because again, growing up where I grew up, in Surprise, Arizona, it was still a young and growing town. I say town is a city, but still I considered it a town at that moment because it was basically 3 roads. And we were the only, allowed to a black obnoxious identical twins at that church. You know what I mean? So essentially I don't want to make it sound like me and Queez are famous people, but
You just stood out.
Meet a lot. Yeah, you don't meet a lot
guys
of
definitely stood
identical
out.
twins. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that being the case, so we were who we were, and so we knew her parents, knew a lot of people, and she grew up. The church that her parents still go to this day, they essentially grew up in that. They grew up with that church, so we were very familiar with the parents. So when in high school, it was 2000. She's gonna be so mad at me. Oh, it was 2000. It was 2011. It's July 17th, 2011. We went and saw Cars 2. That was our first date. That just shows my age, I guess.
Cars 2.
It was Cars 2 was in theaters. Understand, it was in theaters. Or was 2 or 3?
Cars 2. Did your parents drop you off?
2 or 3. No, I had a car.
Ooh.
Well, it wasn't necessarily my car. It was my older brother's car, who was not legally able to drive it.
Ooh.
Because of DUI. But anyway, we went and saw Cars. That was our first date, and then whatever time went on, started dating and blase, and then here we are. So
there you go.
So I've known my wife for a very, very long time. So 19 years old. It's 2013. I graduated in 2013. I enlisted in 2013. November 2013. So I turned 19, and then a week later, I was on a freaking plane going to Fort Jackson, South Carolina. And so because I went to basic during the holiday, so I had a holiday block leave, I came home for 2 weeks, saw her family, saw my family, went back. I had told myself, I was like, I'm not going to ask her to marry me for like 2 years. Marriage is not like in my mind. I get back to basic training, and I start to realize, I was like, well, damn. I think I kind of like this girl. I think I kind of like her more than I'm giving her credit for. You know what I mean? And so I wrote a letter to her dad. I think
Damn,
I still
look
have,
at you,
I think I
dude.
still have this letter. I mean, it was basic training, so I can't call him, but I still have this letter. I wrote a letter specifically addressed to him. He responded back, and he was like, hey, well, I definitely appreciate, you writing me and explaining to me how you feel about my daughter. But I think we need to have this conversation in person.
Yeah.
For me to give you my official blessing, we need to have this conversation in person. Funny story though, real quick. My wife's adopted too. So her dad is her adopted dad, if you will. So, cause her mom, I'm airing out the laundry, but her mom, she shares this story all the time, and she has no problem doing this, sharing the story. So I hope I don't get in trouble for sharing the story.
You're not gonna get in trouble, dude.
I know their family, so she owes me.
Yeah, we sent out all the emails. People are trekking.
So she had Aubrey when she was still in high school, and where they grew up. If you look at it on a map, it says Prescott, but if you're from Arizona, it's called Prescott. So
Prescott.
Everybody in Arizona calls it Prescott. If you're from Arizona, you call it Prescott. You don't call it Prescott. And that's how you know when someone's not from Arizona. They're like, yeah, I'm from North. I know some people in North Arizona.
Well, then spell it right.
Listen,
we had this conversation earlier about Illinois and Illinois.
I got you. So I didn't know.
Get rid of the damn S.
I didn't know it was a thing until it was like my 5th year living in Arizona. Because I'm not originally from Arizona, I'm from Vegas, but I didn't know it was a thing. And my parents were like, oh no, it's Prescott. You don't say Prescott, it's Prescott. So anyway, and especially when I met my wife, and she was like, yo, I'm going up to see my Nona in Prescott. And I'm like, you mean Prescott? She's like, no, it's Prescott. She goes, everyone from Prescott calls it Prescott. I'm like, oh, it is what it is. So anyway, so her mom, she had her, I don't remember how old she was, but she was a senior in high school. And so she had her and the birth that obviously didn't work out.
Yeah.
But her husband now, that basically he's been there since Aubrey was born. He was her brother's best friend. I think I hope I'm telling the story right. He was her brother's best friend. So it's kind of like, hey man, and understand her family. She has seven siblings, and he's the one boy.
Ooh.
So he was, so it was kind of like, hey, I have 6 sisters and you're around my family all the time. And he had to know in the back of his mind, he might end up with one of my 6 sisters. Like, he's bound to end up with one of them. We're best friends. We hang out all the time. He's bound to end up with one of them. And, God has a plan for everyone. And he ends up with her saying, like, this is the one. This is who I want to marry. This is the one. And they got married. They had 2 kids later on, Tyler and Kira and all that jazz. And so, yeah, so he adopted Aubrey when she was 2 or 3. When they got married, when there was like 2 or 3, he officially adopted her as his own. And so, yeah, it's funny because I forget all the time, and no one's ever sitting there thinking about it. Like, Aubrey's adopted too. Like, no, like that is his daughter. And, sorry, Kent, I made a joke in June when we were at a family reunion. I was drinking a little bit more than I should have. He was drinking, and I made a joke, and I felt comfortable making the joke because I was adopted. But then I said it, and then I realized how bad it hurt him by saying that. And he kicked everybody off the roof. And he was like, hey, we need to have a conversation. I was like, oh, damn, I messed up.
Oh, it's about to be real.
Yeah. We had a real conversation. But yeah, no, like, I respect him to the T. But no one, it's funny because no one ever remembers that she's actually adopted by him. But again, it's a thing you would never think about, never think to address. But yeah, no, we got married. I'm sorry, I keep going on several tangents, but we got married. And when I asked her to marry me, she was still she was finishing her senior year in high school.
Damn, dude.
So she's walking around high school with a wedding ring on, or with a engagement ring on. And
jeez,
I need y'all to understand something.
Whoa.
I spent a lot of money on that ring, and
you were in basic training, weren't you?
I was in basic training, and you know what I did with my checks to make sure I could pay for this ring? Every time I got paid, I would save it, everything else, and I would use $100 from that check for anything that I wanted to do. Everything else would go to that ring. So I'm talking like, I think I was making $700. I don't know, $600-$700, whatever it was.
But basic training,
basic training,
everything's basically taken care of for you, like
and AIT. So I wasn't making a lot, but like
you're able to save a lot.
I was able to save a lot. So I saved a lot. Now, if I wasn't going to get married, I was going to buy a car, right? Because my car had broken down before I left.
Camaro or Charger?
Charger.
I figured.
No, but listen, Chargers. I want a Charger to this day. I don't want to sound. I hate to sound like that guy, but I want a Charger to this day. I love Chargers,
dude. Don't get me wrong. I've had one before.
Did you?
I know. Yeah, I did.
I want a Charger, but I will. I'm talking like give me like V6. I want an SRT. Like.
You want the Charger.
Yeah. I'm not gonna go to the lot and be like, give me a Charger just so I can say I have a Charger. No. I want an SRT. I want the olive green SRT.
They're nice. Don't get me wrong.
With the nice leather seats, with the shifter and the paddle. Like I want it all. I would go all out. I have a family, so I'm not doing that now. But yes, and I
kind of miss my Charger actually now.
So hold on, let's go back. You had a Charger.
Yeah, I did.
So you were the guy.
Yeah, but here's the thing. I wasn't the guy who got it at a basic.
That don't matter. Granted, you had a Charger.
Everybody nowadays, it's like you go to basic training and you get a Camaro or Charger.
Everyone's leaving.
Right at basic training.
But you know what's crazy now? Like, because everyone now has that same mindset. They're like, I'm not going to the dealership just to get a base model Charger. They're getting SRTs. And I'm like, that is way too much power for a 20-year-old who can't even legally drink yet. But they're driving this V8 and they're like, yo, like I am ripping it. And they're showing up to formation at 06:30 in the morning.
Cruise by any Army barracks, guys.
See how many
Chargers and Camaros you find. Most
of the lot is full of Chargers.
And you do 10 push-ups for every single one. There's your new challenge.
You're going to get really strong.
Yes, sir.
So I did want a Charger. I'm not gonna lie, but
I can see, and low key, dude, I can see you in a Charger.
bro, I love them. I think they're nice cars, and like that just might be whatever. Like I said, like I wouldn't sell my truck, but if I could afford to get a second vehicle, it'd be a Dodge Charger.
There you go.
Without a shadow of doubt, it'd be a Dodge Charger.
Well, tell the wife, hey, we need a Charger.
No, she won't let me do that. She won't let me do that. No, we've paid off both of our vehicles. So, and surprisingly, we have a Dodge. We both have Dodges. So I guess we're a Dodge family now. Never thought it would happen, but I thought I was going to be a Ford guy. I'm not going to lie.
What?
But I'm a Dodge guy now. So the only thing I don't like about Dodge is Uconnect. If you can hear this, get rid of Uconnect. It's the stupidest thing in the world. No one uses Uconnect. Just give us Apple CarPlay or Android Play. Like that's what everybody wants. Uconnect is your own system. You tried it and it failed.
By the way, this podcast is brought to you by Dodge and Uconnect.
We just want to thank our sponsors.
I forgot to throw that out there. Sponsored by Uconnect.
I hate that system so much. It's such a useless thing. But nah, so but yeah, no, we have gone on so many different tangents. I'm sorry.
It happens, dude.
But happens. Yeah, no. I wanted a Charger, but no, me and her, we're young kids. We get married. And she, like I said, she was still in high school, walking around with an engagement ring. And
jeez.
And I couldn't believe it because, she would tell me, she's like, yeah, all these people are commenting and asking me, like, and because, we're getting to the age where you start to notice the rings and they're like, are you engaged? And she's like, yeah, to who? And I had just graduated the year before, so everybody knows who I am. They're like, Daquan. They're like, one of the twins? You're still with that guy? What does he do? And he's like, oh, she's in the Army. And they're like, oh, okay, good luck. You know what I mean? Type thing. To all the haters, we're still here.
Still together, going strong.
I just want to let you guys know. So we got married in 2014. So yeah, we actually September 14th is our 9-year anniversary. So
ooh, that's coming up.
Yeah. I have a gift in mind. She'll like it. I know she'll like it.
Hey, don't give it up here.
Oh, well, I'm not going to. It's very hard to find a gift when you've been together for so long, because we've been getting each other
9
gifts.
years, dude.
That's how long we've been married. We've been getting each other gifts because we've been together since 2011. So, like, understand, it's been a long time. Like, I've given all the gifts I could give. You know what I mean? Like, I don't even, like... And
at this point, what you're starting to go through the book, you're like, dude, what's next?
What else do you want? You know what I mean? Like, at this point, I don't know. I think this is normal. I'm at a point now where things come up, and I'm like, hey, what do you want? Tell me what you want. And, I mean, we have a shared account. I'm going to go buy it.
Dude, right?
Like, let's not pretend anymore. Dude. Like, we need to surprise each other. Tell me what you want. Matter of fact, you don't even have to tell me what you want, because guess what? You know you're going to get something. You're going to be like, hey, for our anniversary, look what I got me. You're going to be like, look what you got me. And I'm like, wow, what is that? It's a new blah, blah, blah. Wow, I'm glad I got you for it. I love you so much. We have a shared account. Even if I go swipe that card,
you're going to know exactly.
She's going to know what I bought.
Dude, at that point, I mean.
There's no such thing as surprise in my house.
Dude.
She's good at surprise because I don't look at. I'm not gonna lie. She looks at the count. I don't. So like, if she could buy me a gift, I would never know because I'm not the one who's like going through like, all right, what was this purchase? What was this purchase? No, like she's the one who balances the checkbook. If you know what I'm talking about. So like, she does that. So yeah. But yeah, we've been married for so long. That's where we're at right now. So.
Well, no, that's pretty awesome. That's pretty awesome. But I'm curious now. Now that you're on anniversaries, you got my thinking, like, I don't know, and feel free, if any of you are watching this, comment down below, but do anniversary gifts really
matter?
No.
No. Well,
like, I mean, I get it.
When you want something,
definitely like remember the day. Obviously, that's the day you guys said yes to each other, and to solely be there for each other for the rest of your lives. Mm-hmm. Took those vows. But like you just said yourself, 9 years. It's like, dude, what? I mean, you just any day at any point of the year, you put out a goal or something you want, and we're gonna figure out a way. We're gonna make it work.
Yeah,
I'm gonna make it happen. So it's like, what so special? Like, does this gift matter? Like, I mean, no. I don't know. Maybe it's just the way I think.
So this is just me. My wife, hopefully don't, hurt me. But
comment down below though. Let me know what you think.
Absolutely. I would say the gift doesn't matter. And I say that because it's just about being able to say we've reached another year.
Yeah.
And like I'm not going to say it was an easy year, but we were able to reach another year. And I saw this thing once that it basically was talking about how getting married, the race doesn't start or the race doesn't end when you get married.
No.
The race starts when you get married.
Dude, that's when the real work starts.
You're racing to get to death, to be part, right? And I better go first. I'm gonna be pissed if I don't go first. She does a lot of things that I am not aware of, and I'm gonna be like, someone's gonna be like, "Hey, are you gonna take care of that?" I'm like, "Yo, I don't know how to do that. That was my wife thing, and I'm not gonna lie to you. We have our roles, and she's good at hers. I can't do. You can't replace me with her. That's like we're trying to replace Kobe, and you're like,
exactly.
We ain't got nobody.
Yeah. Hey, sorry.
You know what I mean? Like, I hope I go first. But anyway, the goal is to get to to death is part. And we definitely will reach that point for us, because we definitely, know and understand that how important marriage is, and to see the example that both of our parents have set for us, to know, like, okay, they're able to do it, we can do it. And like, I have the luxury, or we have the luxury, if you will. I say luxury, it's not necessarily I'm not living in luxury, but we have the luxury of having a guaranteed paycheck on the 1st and the 15th from Big Daddy Sam. So
what up, Theo?
So we have that luxury. So we have certain guarantees in life, and things are good or better, than I know a lot of people are going through. But nonetheless, like we still go through our financial burdens. We still go through our issues, and we come to that year mark, and we're like, another year down. We're that much closer to get. I mean, that's
apart. Honestly, that's how I kind of prefer to celebrate it, because you look at it, it's just like, another year above ground with each other, chasing a common goal, and that's being here for each other and taking our vows. And hey, you know what? It's another year. And to me, I see it more of like, hey, let's just go out and celebrate it. Like, I mean, the way I see it is like, what can I get you that you don't? All you have to do is tell me what you want. We're going to figure it out. We're going to get this for you.
Yeah, like, you can tell me like you want a new
there's
car.
There's nothing I can't get you that it's like, I don't.
That has to wait for September 14th.
Let's go celebrate. That's what I say. Let's go celebrate. Let's do it.
Well, so even then for us, like, for our anniversaries, we're simple people. We're simple creatures. And so we're like, we need to go do something extravagant. Now, next year, for our 10-year, she wants to do something extravagant, and she wants to renew our vows and then go on a vacation, which is fine. I'll do that. It's for her. I'll do that. But yeah, no, it's just kind of like, let's go out and get some food, or like, let's bring some food to the house and watch a movie, and I'm totally okay with that.
There you go.
But the original point, I'm sorry, was divorce is one of the scariest things, the biggest things in the military, and was one of my biggest concerns. So I talked to her I had a conversation with her in the beginning. I said, listen, you don't know how many people I know who got a divorce in the military. And I was like, you don't know how many people I know that have, who are giving me advice on what they think I should ensure I do to make sure that when it comes to when our relationship comes to an end, I am securing that as much as I can, so you don't take anything from me.
Yeah.
And I was like, listen, I'm not going to lie to you. I don't care about that. I said, I'm not going to do that. Because
just get it out of your head.
Yeah, because that just means that I'm always looking for an escape, a way to escape, or it's almost like I have an option to get out of this if I want to. Me and her know it's death do us part. Like, we are not, we're not going to do that. So we could be fighting for a good year, which I don't think it's in either of us to fight for a good year.
Yeah.
But just to be dramatic, we could be fighting for a very long time, but it'd be like, good night to you. Turn the light off, please. You know what I mean? Like, and then
you're gonna leave the fan on? Oh, really? You're gonna be that one? Okay.
You know what I mean? Like, that's it. Like, we set the example. Try to set the example that was set for us legit, for our kids, because divorce is not an option.
Well, I'll tell you what, man. 9 years. Hey, that's an accomplishment, especially in my book. Especially being in the military.
Yeah.
9 years. Literally, dude, good job.
Well, thank you.
You guys definitely got that foundation to keep that house nice and strong. Keep it going.
Well, I've seen because I've been around long enough in the military now that I've seen a lot of how people operate, and I'm like, well, this is why your relationships don't last, because what's the Army saying when you're TDY? Temporary divorce, something. I forgot what it's called. What the saying? There's a saying for it. I didn't know it was. I found this out like 2 years ago. There's a saying for it, but I don't even remember what the saying is. But yeah, like, so, I know I've been around people who were TDY. We were TDY, and they were like, yeah, this is
it's like frat house days all over again.
Yeah, they're like, I'm single for a little while, and I'm like, nah, man. Like, I can't. I don't have it in me to do something like that and then FaceTime her the following day or that same night and with my daughters on the line and be like, oh my gosh, I love and miss you guys.
Yeah, that definitely takes a special breed of an individual.
I'm not saying names. I'm not saying names out there. I just know there's people out there that do it, and I've seen it. I've witnessed it, and I'm like, you're better than me, because that couldn't be me. I don't know how to do that. I don't know how to do that.
Yeah, no, that's like I said, it takes a special individual,
Yes.
There's and I would say talented too, because you cannot. That's wow. That's a lot of energy. I
have an individual who's in my head right now, and Oh,
I'm sure we got plenty.
We're friends, and he posts pictures all the time. Family, love my family, and I'm just like.
Yeah, dude.
How? How
authentic is that?
Yeah, like, I just do you? I don't know. Like, maybe, and for them, maybe they do. For them, maybe they do, and they say, hey, like, this is an escape that all men need, right? And like, for example, I think when I'm talking about the red pill stuff, right, and all that jazz, I think those gentlemen have a belief that men should be able to go sleep with other people because it's not an emotional bond like it is for females to have an emotional attachment when you sleep with somebody. Now, that is their belief, and, that is what they're going to do with their lives and themselves, and they were going to believe that to be true, and they believe that to be correct. However, that's not how I live my life. When you sleep with somebody, the Bible outlines it. You're forming an emotional attachment to that individual. It's not and I said in so many words, I don't know I can't remember the exact verbiage of it. I won't get King James version on you guys right now, but you form a connection, you form a bond with that person when you have sexual relations with that person. So, like, to think that you're just going to go do that with somebody else and then you're going to be like, nope, my attachment is to this individual over here. I believe that, but I also believe that you're almost splitting yourself off, saying a piece of you, a portion of your spirit, if you will, is now with this person forever. And then, but it's also with your main spirit or whatever is with this person, but you still have a portion that is no longer attached to this person. So, like, again, for me, I would never be able to do that. But that's me. There are other people out there who have no problem doing that. and who's saying like, no, that does not works for me.
Yeah. What about so like, I'm thinking from the other side now. There's those who, when they hear that, they also say, well, what about in the Bible when, you would have someone like King David or King Solomon, or you'd have
they had
Abraham, who
hundreds of wives,
and concubines,
Yeah.
And it was like, hey, what about that aspect? Even though they had their one wife,
I'll think about. I put it this way, and I can't even remember. Do you remember who David's first wife was?
Ooh.
But you know who Bathsheba is, right?
Yes.
Do you know who Bathsheba's son is? Who the son she gave birth to from David?
Who was it?
Solomon.
Oh, that's right. Okay.
So, right. So everybody does. Most people don't remember David's first wife, and I'm not even gonna lie to you. I can't remember who. It was the daughter of. I think it was one of Saul's daughters. King Saul's daughter. I think it was one of Saul's daughters. That it was David. Yeah, it was one of Saul's daughters they were married to. That was given to David because David, when he killed Goliath, and then he went on to win many more battles for Saul. It was one of his daughters, but I can't remember her name. Right, and most people, if they're not theologians, they don't remember her name, but everybody does remember Bathsheba, right? And everybody knows, like,
dude, I bet she was hot.
She had to be,
bro. Imagine, I bet she was hot, dude.
Right? She had to be.
She was probably a banger for sure.
And, well, I mean, he went as far as to say, "Hey, your husband
to play a harp for you.
Your husband's dead. He died in war, and I'm not going to tell you that I sent him to the front lines, but he's gone." And her husband, he was one of his top lieutenants. I don't want to say generals. I don't know if it was generals is the right term, but he was one of the top guys. So it was kind of strange to be like, hey, send him to the front line, as if he was just a regular foot soldier. But yeah, no, like I said, most people don't remember his first wife, but they remember Bathsheba, right?
Yep.
Most people don't remember Solomon's first wife. Which I think was one of a Pharaoh she was given to him in marriage through Pharaoh's daughter.
Egypt.
It was Pharaoh's daughter.
She's Egyptian.
Yep. And so most people don't remember Solomon's first wife, but they do remember hearing about how he had hundreds of wives and concubines, and how he had so many different kids and all that case. But that was an acceptable time back then. But then when we get to the New Testament, and Paul writes in one of the many teachings that he wrote, he was one man and one woman. So that's where that new teaching comes from, where some people are like, well, if we live by the Old Testament, I can have hundreds of or as many wives as I want. But the New Testament, Paul says one man, one woman, right? We're joined by one man, one woman. That's what a relationship is. It's not this thing where we just have a man has 5 wives and he can give all his love to these 5 wives, whatever the case might be. So, for me, I'm a New Testament guy. I don't know where some of y'all at, but I'm a New Testament guy.
No, but it blows my mind whenever you think about that. You just kind of think like, wow, dude, what a difference, as far as actions and behaviors when you combine, the Old Testament and New Testament, like what a difference, obviously.
Yeah. And the teachings, but so at that time, and I'm not speaking from a person who knows everything regarding the Old Testament, but in that time, right, the law was given to Moses, right? The law was given to Moses. And within those laws, Moses said to the Israelites when they're in the desert, and he was on Mount Sinai when getting those laws, he was like, hey, these are the laws we must follow. And the main thing and the main concern at the time was how they were making golden calves and saying that the Israelites were making these golden calves.
They needed something to worship.
And they were saying these are the things we're worshiping.
Physical.
Yeah, saying this is the ball was the thing that got us out of Egypt, out of slavery, out of Egypt, forgetting that it was God of Abraham, right, who got you guys out of Egypt. It was God who spoke to Moses with the burning bush, and then Moses and Aaron going to talk to Pharaoh and said, "Hey, man, let my people go." And Pharaoh's like, "Who the heck do you think you are?" And they're like, "Cool, my God's he's got something for that. Let me turn this river to blood now.
Watch this."
He's like, "Oh, cool. Oh, you didn't think that was cool? Got you." And every time he would come back, the Bible says God hardened Pharaoh's heart.
Yeah.
He hardened his heart, and God did that to prove a point to the people of like how serious he was about getting them out of slavery and into their own land, because it was promised to Abraham that his people and he would have his lineage would be as many as the stars, right? I don't want to get all, Jesus on you people, but like that's what it was. And so I don't know. It's
interesting.
Yeah.
It definitely is interesting, but that's cool. That's definitely cool. Now, I know that you've already mentioned in the past that you've had these aspirations to, move on from the military and be a youth pastor.
Yes.
Like that's your goal.
I forgot I mentioned that last time until I was on the way here and I was like, oh, I did say that. Oh, dang it. I didn't know if I wanted to say
I
that.
think I mean, you can see that passion in you, you can definitely see that.
Oh, I hope, man. I'm not as scripture as other people, and I still cuss, so I'm not perfect, and I have my flaws.
When I say that, it's because okay, so I went to a Christian private school, in high school, and I was exposed to a lot of individuals who literally, would say, "Oh yeah, I'm going to do this and go to college, do this, and then I'm going to be a youth minister and all this."
Sounds good.
And it does. It sounds good, but there's a certain character, there's a lot of attributes that go to an individual that you're just like, okay, I can see that actually. I can see that with you, in the way you conduct yourself, the way you present yourself, the way you engage yourself with other individuals. I can see that, as opposed to other individuals who can say the same thing, but then you're just like, I don't see that, but I'm not ruling it out. And maybe I don't see it.
Yeah.
I had, my father, he was, my dad was, he grew up, he basically living that street life, that thug life, back in the day. We're talking back in the day. He was a lowrider dude. He was a gangbanger, living that street life.
Was this California?
No, this is New Mexico.
Yeah. Gosh, I hate that state so much.
Lowrider capital of the world is in New Mexico.
So much. Go ahead. Sorry.
But no, man, and he had a wake up call and knew that lifestyle wasn't for him when I was 1 year old, and he went through a traumatic event that involved him getting shot, and that was his come to Jesus moment, and he turned his life around just 180, and now, he went, got ordained and focused on just a street outreach kind of ministry, just outreaching to everybody he can, and put himself out there to serve others, and, I'm trying to remember where I was going here with this, but he raised me up to, his focus was like, he's going to bring up his kids in the way of the Lord, and just be up in that Christian upbringing, non-denomination Christian upbringing, and he would engage himself with a lot of individuals, a lot of evangelists, a lot of street ministers, even prophetic individuals, who are blessed with this ability of prophecy. And I didn't even know that was a thing. Yeah. I didn't even know until, as I got older and you're reading the Bible, like, there's prophets in the Bible. Like that was their job. That's what their blessing was. and they were able to read even children, individuals and children, and somebody went up to my dad one time, and I was only like 4 years old, and they told him, he met me, he met my dad and me, because I was my dad's firstborn, and he looked at me and he like rubbed my head, and then he goes to my dad and he says, "This is going to be a leader. Like your son, this little 4-year-old, he's going to be a leader. I don't know what he's going to do, but you got a leader."
It's crazy to hear things like that, dude, and you're just like, what are you talking about?
Dude, exactly. And it's crazy because, he said a bunch of other detailed things, to my dad. And my dad at the time was just like, what? He's 4 years old.
Yeah. What do you know?
What do you know?
We believe in the same God, but you are... yes.
And it's crazy because now I think back and I've had conversations with my father, and it's just like, dude, this is crazy. I came back from a first deployment, second deployment, and I'm just rising up in the ranks in the military and getting recognized for this and doing this and now it's to the point where I take ownership in that role as a leader.
Yeah.
In every aspect, no matter what the job is or what platoon I'm in charge of, what team I'm in charge of, or what detail, if I know that I'm going to lead in that position and I'm going to do whatever I can and I'm going to execute, I'm going to take ownership in that role, awesome. And it's just going to come to me, and it's almost like it comes to me naturally, and I think back to that moment. And it's crazy because, when you mention that, it blows my mind because it took me into that headspace, and it's weird. It's weird.
Well, and that's kind of one of the pastor thing for me. So at the church I was going to, it's called Real Life Ministries in Arizona, in Surprise, Arizona. It's called Real Life Ministries, and the pastor there, and it was at the time it was a small church, and now they've grown to a bigger church, and I think they just broke land on their new property that they're building for their church, because they're growing from what the church was. We were in a school in setting up chairs in the auditorium and the basketball court, to now they have their own. They're renting out a building, to now they're getting their own building. It's awesome, but there was this one, they were doing an event, and it was supposed to be, basically it was me, my brother, and our friend, basically I call him like my cousin, his name's Justice, and we were supposed to be a part of this thing that the church was putting on, and we had to dance and do all these things, because at the time I could dance, believe it or not, I could dance and do all these things, and so we had our own part in it. We could dance from in the stands, if you will, but putting us in front of people in the dance, they're like, I don't know about all this. So it got to the point I think we were a week out, and we were just kind of like not really into it. And so the pastor, his name's Pastor Bryant, pulls us to a side. He's a Cowboys fan. Oh, my goodness. Yeah. He's an amazing dude, but he's a Cowboys fan. That's the one thing.
Hey, for all you Cowboys fans out there, I'm praying for you guys. All right? I'm praying for y'all.
Oh, man. But on a serious note, he pulls us to the side, and he's like, hey, if you guys don't want to do this, just tell me you don't want to do this. And we're like, yeah, we don't want to do this. And he was like, okay, that's fine. That's totally okay. He goes, I just, one thing I do is just wish you guys would have told me earlier that you didn't want to do this, because like we're a week out, from this event.
Yeah.
And at the time, I wasn't spiritually I wasn't in my faith as much as I am now. I was kind of going through the motions. And so I didn't really believe when someone's like, oh yeah, like they can, the Holy Spirit speaks to them or whatever the case. I just thought they were making it up. So he says, I kid you not, he's looking at us three. In this conversation, he goes, the Holy Spirit's talking to me, and I don't know what it is. All I know is one of you is meant to be a pastor. He goes, I don't know who it is. I don't know which one it is of you, but one of you is meant to be a pastor. We all looked at each other like, ain't gonna be me. He goes, I don't.
I feel like you could say that though. Like you give me a group of individuals, and I'm just like, I feel like
again, that's where I was like, man, that's what I was like. I'm sure you could say that. It might be a good guess though.
I can see that. I can see that.
But you know what's
you are right. You are right though.
I didn't think about that conversation until earlier this year when I had the calling. I guess the second calling, if you will, that it was like, no, I need my calling to be a pastor. And so I didn't think about that conversation until I had that calling, and then I'm talking to my wife and I said, you know what's craziest? There was this conversation I had when I was a kid. I don't know, 14, 15.
Yeah.
And the pastor of my church at the time said like, hey, one of you is supposed to be a pastor. And who am I to think at that time that he was talking to me? Right. And I'm not a pastor now yet, but I mean, like, I'm going down that path to become a pastor. And I'm like, but it's crazy to think like, how? So like, it's so crazy because I haven't even hit him up. Like, I haven't even like messaged him or texted him like, hey, do you remember this conversation? And were you just saying it or did you mean it? You know what I mean? Like, because I'm nervous. What scares me the most is actually it being real. Because you know what I mean? Like so I think about Jonah when he had the calling, right?
This is the second time you mentioned Jonah.
Well, Jonah's a big deal for me.
Last episode you mentioned Jonah, so I wonder.
Yeah, well, Jonah's a big deal for me. A lot of people like try to have to relate their stories to Paul when he was Saul and then he became Paul and all that, or David or Solomon or all these, they're these grand names, and Jonah's a good name, right?
Yeah.
But like, he's a story that, he was in a fish and everyone's kind of like, he went and did his thing after God put him in a fish, right? But I relate to Jonah because Jonah had a calling. God said, hey man, I need you to go preach to these people and let them know that they about to get this work. This angel's about to come through. And
they're about to get these hands.
Yeah, like this angel's going to come through and he's going to let them have it if they don't turn away from their ways and confess with their mouths of their sins.
Yeah.
And Jonah was like, who, me? I'm good. Where you want me to go is north. I'm going to go south. And that's what he did. And he left. Yeah. He got on a boat and he was like, I got to cross this water. Once I cross this body of water, ain't no way God's going to get to me. God sent a storm. And they're like, and these fishermen are like, and these people on the boat are like, why is this happening to us? There is not supposed to be a storm. Here. You know what I mean? And then they finally were like, hey, like, what have you done? What have you done? And finally Jonah's like, hey, it's because of me. You got to throw me over. You got to throw me over. And they're like, are you sure about that? And he's like, yeah, you got to throw me over. And then at the point, they threw him over. They threw him in the water. The moment they threw him in the water, the storm ceased.
That's crazy.
They became believers and said, oh, he has, whoever his God is, that's the one true God.
That's the one.
They're like, because we threw him in the water and the storm stopped. And then he got into the fish, whatever, right? But my point is, for Jonah, he ran away. Because he was like, there's no way God's telling me, the person, me, Jonah, that I'm supposed to be this person that's supposed to go talk to these people and tell them to turn away from their sins. Yeah. And they're going to listen to me? Basically, he was a street preacher. He was basically the guy on the street that said, hey, turn from your sins. God's going to smite you down if you don't turn from your sins. And he was a street preacher. In the beginning, people were like, yeah, all right, dude. It's like going to the red light district and be like, hey, turn away from your sins. Right now, God is going to get rid of you, all of you in this city, if you don't turn from your sins. And they're like, yeah, pimping, I'm going down the street. Goodbye, right? But in the end, they end up listening. The king listened and he put out an order and was like, hey, Seth, we are going to fast until God forgives us. Ooh. And that started because Jonah finally met his calling, accepted his calling, and said, hey, I'm going to go do what God had sent me to do. But I relate to that because Jonah didn't want the calling in the beginning. And that's what scares me, because I was like, I don't know if this is real. What if it's just me making up in my head?
That's crazy, dude. I feel like
that's what scares me. That's what scares me. Because I'm like, what if I'm just making it up in my head and I'm telling myself that I'm supposed to be this great person, right? And that's not actually what I'm supposed to do. So it scares me. But then I talk to a youth pastor and I tell him all these things at the church I go to now. Like even now, it's crazy. I'm running from my calling because I've met with this youth pastor and he's like, come to youth night. And I'm like, yeah, I went to one. I haven't been back since because I'm scared. I'm scared because I'm like, what am I? Because I went there and I saw him do his thing and I'm like, how can I compare to this guy?
Hopefully you decide before you get tossed into a fish.
You know what? I'm holding myself accountable. I don't want to get tossed into a fish still, but I'm gonna hold myself accountable on. They have their youth nights every Wednesday, so I'm going on Wednesday.
Okay.
So people are gonna ask me, hey, what are you doing Wednesday night? Wednesday night, 6:30.
Next time you're here, I'm going to ask, hey, how was Wednesday night?
I'm going to tell you, man.
See.
It was the first one I went to. It was quite an experience. It was a hell of an experience. It was an experience that I did. That to see young people on fire for Jesus and for God, it was a weird experience because I'm 28 and it took me this long to get to that point where they're at. But they're 15, 16. Early. Well, they start. It's like 14 because it's youth, like so high school kids. 9th grade and up, and they're on fire for Jesus right now. And I'm like, I was not that way. So like that's to see legit, that, man. To see them, to hear them talk about God in their lives and how much he's done for them. It's amazing.
That's legit.
But again, I'm thinking about like, how can I inspire them? Like he inspires them. I don't want to, I'm not saying I'm coming for his job, but like, how can I give that inspiration when I can barely inspire soldiers? Like, like I have, you know what I mean? Like I like sometimes it works, sometimes what I do works and other times it doesn't. But like, I don't know. It's intimidating.
Well, here, I mean, you can think of it just, in comparison to the military, every leader is going to be different and every leader is going to have their own style, their own way of leading, their own understanding, and, obviously, for instance, you and I, we probably both have two different leadership styles, and two different ways we approach or engage soldiers, and that would be in the same sense, as a youth minister, you would have your own style, your own flavor that you bring to that game, as opposed to he has his own flavor. So
he's good too.
Yeah, but he's got this experience already. Once you get in there,
what's funny? We have a similar story because he joined the Army. He was a Fox.
Oh,
yeah,
yeah.
You'd think he would be able to talk to people, but that man can talk to people.
Yeah, so he's got good products he presents. He's got good PowerPoints.
Oh man, it's crazy because he was telling his story, and it wasn't until I heard his story, and I went to church. Was one Sunday, and he was preaching, and he was telling his story. That I was like, so I had the calling and I was like, I don't know what I'm going to do about it. I was like, I'm kind of waiting. I told my wife about it. I was at the gym and I had the calling and I came back, told her about it. I was like, I don't know what that looks like, but I'm just going to wait. 2 weeks go by and every day I'm kind of asking like, hey, if this is what you want me to do, just kind of give me a sign, slap me in the face that says this is what you want me to do. He's preaching. And I prayed that prayer before that Sunday we went to church. He's preaching. He's telling a story about how he was running away from his calling. And then he's like, God finally got me. And he goes, being a youth pastor is the best thing I ever did. And he's like, I love it. I love everything about it. He goes, don't get me wrong. There are some days that are hard. He goes, I love everything about it. And he was like, hey, if you have a calling that God is calling you to do, he goes, be obedient. His message was obedience, but he's like, you need to be obedient and just trust in God that he knows what he has in plan for you.
Yeah.
Right. And so I emailed him that evening.
Nerd. I'm just kidding. I'm kidding.
So I emailed him.
Yes.
And I'm thinking like, I won't hear from him in until a couple days. I just got on the game. I kind of thought I was like, oh, that was a scary email, but I sent it. Within an hour, he emails me back.
Were you all giggity?
I was like, I didn't know what to do.
Like, what do I do with my hands?
I was like, I don't know what to do. I was like, he hit me back so fast. It's
Oh my God, he wrote me back.
It's 10 o'clock at night. And I tell my wife, I was like, hey, look at the email. Tell me, do you think this is a good email? Do you think this is good? And she was like, I mean, yeah, good. Go for it. And then he emailed me back and I was like, oh my gosh, he sent me back like a personal response. I thought it was going to be an automated response. He sent me a personal response. And then next thing you know, we meet or whatever the case. But yeah, like it was his message that I was like, oh, that was a slap in the face that I needed. It was like, hey,
it's a real deal.
Obedience. So, but anybody who has a calling to do something, I'm sure initially it's scary. And there are some people, I sat down with Chaplin and I talked to him about this.
Really?
Yeah. I talked to him about this.
How's that go?
Interesting. Because our kind of basis of our conversation was like, I was exploring like, what does a chaplain do? And I was like, maybe this is what how I start this as being a chaplain.
I don't see you as a chaplain, dude. Not in the military.
Well, I definitely don't either.
We're gonna go into something, but I want you to finish.
Okay.
Here.
Okay. So I'll make this quick. So I have a conversation with him, and I was telling him, I was like, I don't think I have what this is looking for. And he was like, I was like, because I got an Article 15, I got in trouble. I'm not the example in which people want to follow or should follow. He's like, no. You're perfect. I was like, what do you mean I'm perfect? He's like, you have a story. He goes, there's a lot of chaplains, there are a lot of preachers. They don't have a story. They don't have a story. So when it comes to relating to people, it's very hard for them. And he's like, it's not to say you need to have a story to relate to be a pastor, but when you have a story, you're able to relate to a lot more people, and they can see it's genuine. Versus, you're just like, hey, I understand you're going through a divorce, but keep your head up. You know what I mean? And you're like, that's not what I need to hear right now. You know what I mean? And I haven't experienced divorce, but still, like, nonetheless, when you were going through that, could you imagine someone just like, hey man, keep your head up. You'll be all right. And you're just like, what? No, I need some more spiritual guidance, not just keep my head up. If I want that, I go listen to David Goggins. Who's gonna carry the boats?
Who's gonna carry the boats?
I'll get that motivation for him. I need you to give me some spiritual guidance.
You don't know me, son.
So, but yeah, that was our conversation. I won't go any further because it was that's our chaplain. Not every chaplain's the same chaplain.
They're not the same. And hey, I'm not knocking on.
No, I'm not knocking him.
Hey, shout out to all the chaplains, man. They do good things.
Yeah.
They do good things. They serve a good purpose in the military. A very well endowed, needed purpose too. I agree. Might I add,
especially in our times now.
Okay, so one of the questions, all right, that definitely. Other individuals have asked me this before in the past. Now, given we live in a special time, one would say, where the color of your skin has a lot to affect, or it comes into play a lot more than it used to.
Yep.
And I mean, I don't know where you stand on all of this, man. But some would say that, it can be challenging, being a certain color in the U.S. military.
Yep.
And I'm curious, I myself am a minority, in the military. And I'm curious, though, being somebody who was adopted, and your parents obviously are not the same skin color as you. Mm-hmm. And then going into the military, where we're constantly getting trainings and briefings and everything, though, would you say that it is, would you put yourself in that same comparison that it is challenging, or you've experienced challenging moments, just for understanding with the viewership?
Yes. I have, and man, I'm sorry if I talk too much, please, and you have something to say, just
no, dude.
Tell me to be
That's
quiet.
What I'm here for.
I can do that. You just got to tell me to be quiet. So I've experienced, it's from all sides. So my first duty station was Fort Hood. I'm going to take a dump on Fort Hood for a second here.
Go for it.
They've already done that to themselves, but I'm going to do it even more. And I show up to my unit, and I have an E8 in my floor sergeant. Most of that office is black. There's 2 white people in there.
Okay.
2. The rest of them black. And to give a comparison, that's 8 black people and 2 white people in that office. So my conversation with my NCOIC E8, he's this older black dude, pulls me into his office with my floor sergeant. And he was like, "Hey, man, what do you see in that office?" "Soldiers, Master Sergeant." He was like, "No, what do you see in that office?" And I'm like, "I don't know where you're going with this." He kept asking me. And I look at my floor sergeant, and she's like, and I go, "Oh, black soldiers or African-American soldiers in the office." And he goes, "Correct. There's a bunch of N-words in that office." And he goes, "I will not allow you to be another N-word in this office." And I was like, I'm looking at her, and I'm like,
"What?
Oh,
What?
okay." She's like locked in professionalism. She's a sergeant first class right now. She's awesome. But she was like locked in. She's like, "Roger." And I'm just like in shock and awe. I just got graduated AIT. I'm like, what is going on right now? And he was like, "You will not be another N-word in this office. When someone comes in, you will give them customs and courtesies, stand up, pray, rest, all this, stand at attention, all this jazz, right? I will do all these things to remove the perception that we're a bunch of misfits, if you will, in this office who don't know how to act and don't know how to be professional." That's how much he cared about what the perception that was within this office. So that was the first interaction I had with it. One of the first interactions I had in the military. Fast forward, now there was a major who, I don't necessarily have any hardcore evidence to say that it was, in fact, has to do with my skin color, but he was not black. He was a white dude who we're deployed because we're in Afghanistan, and the office was all black minus the one white soldier in that office, and he was my battle buddy.
Yeah.
And I was at the door, so anytime you walked in, I'm the first person you see that greets you. I said, "Hey, good morning, good evening, sir, ma'am, sergeant, what can I do for you?" And this dude made it a point to ignore me every time. And he would go up to my battle buddy. He was like, "Hey, man, I need help with this." And my battle buddy, he noticed it too, because he would be like, "What the heck did you do?" And I was like, "I don't know." And he was like, he would ask him a question. He was like, "Yeah, sir, that'd be Corporal Wilcox who can help you." And you could see just how upset he was. He had to come back and talk to me and dress me. He's like, "I need this." Now, my OIC was black too. You're usually in those situations, if another officer needs something, he's going straight to the other officer to engage that officer, and they're going to have that conversation. And then my OIC will let me know what I need to do. He would not talk to him. He would always go to this soldier who was white just like him. So it's not my battle buddy. It wasn't my battle buddy's fault. But he would always go up to him and say, "Hey, this is what I need from the S1." And he was like, "Sir, I can't help you. Go talk to the man in charge."
That's crazy, dude.
You walked into a room like we are now. So it's not like he couldn't see my boss, like he was in an office or anything. No. He made eye contact with everyone in the office and made a point to go straight to this person right here. Right. But again, I don't have any tangible evidence to say, in fact, it was because of our skin color. But after a while, you started noticing, like, I kind of feel like it has to do a lot with our skin color.
Damn.
So that's just another experience. And that was all at Fort Hood. Well, that was in Afghanistan, but still stationed at Fort Hood. But then even when I was in Huachuca, my office is all predominantly black soldiers. I'm not even going to front with you. It's all black soldiers. And however, I'm different. And I'm different because how I talk and how I speak. And I've said this in another podcast before.
Conduct yourself.
And how I carry myself. I'm different. And it's noticed right off the bat. I can tell you right now, if I'm talking to a group of black soldiers, and we're from different walks of life, I don't know how many times I can tell you that initially they're hesitant to admit that they notice the difference. But then I tell them adopted and whatever, and I know I'm different. They're like, yeah, you're not like us. Could you imagine hearing that? Well, I'm darker than you, and you're telling me I'm not like us. I had a soldier, man. We're at her Article 15 hearing. And there was a joke made, and I'm the darkest one there, right? Not to say I'm more black than they are, but in the instance, if we're comparing blackness, if you will, I'm the darkest person there. They were all light skinned. And so this soldier or this NCO makes a joke. The soldier who I'm there to represent, getting her Article 15 hearing, she goes, oh, he's not going to understand that. He was raised by white people. I said, what does that have to do with the price of tea in China? That means nothing. Do not get it twisted. I understand things because I've been dealing with this my entire life, where I don't understand because I wasn't raised in some form of hardship, if you will, or raised in a black neighborhood where I have to experience all these things to be considered black. That is where a lot of the issues I've come across in the Army have been for me, is where, because I wasn't like a stereotypical black person, other black people didn't like it. It almost for them felt like I was trying to act as if I was superior to them by talking white. And I was like, what does talking white mean? When I was at Fort Hood, I don't know how many conversations I had with people. They're like, well, you're different. You're an Oreo. You talk white. I said, what does talking white mean? I was like, if I talk white, what does talking black look like? Go ahead, explain that to me. Well, no. You cannot you cannot accept someone saying talking white without telling me what talking black is, because you're talking what black is. Because if you're saying, hey, this person talks black, what you're saying is, and what you're admitting is, that white people are smarter than black people. So now you have to admit that white people are smart. That all white people are smarter than you. But the people wouldn't do that, because I didn't walk them to a job, but I set them up to let them understand look how stupid you sound when you say something like that. When you say something to someone like, oh, well, you talk white. Okay, what does talking black mean? You tell me what talking black means, and I'll do that. Does that mean every word out of my mouth has to be the N-word? Is that what that means? Do I have to call you the N-word and dap you up and make sure that you know and I know, like, hey, man, me and you, we're N-words for life? Do I have to do that? No, absolutely not. That is not a thing. I have told so many soldiers and people, I was like, being black is not what someone else tells you it is. That's not what it is. Being black does not mean we have to grow up in the hood to be black. No. That's not what that being black is. You determine what being black is for you. I have determined what being black is for me, and I'm comfortable in my own skin. I'm comfortable doing what I do. Comfortable how I talk. I use the example of Ben Carson or Obama, for example.
Yeah.
Would you say that they're not black because they don't talk like the stereotypical black person? No, you say they are examples of what black people should be.
Yeah.
But that should be most black people. That should be across the board. There shouldn't be like, well, they're the uppity version of what black people should be, and then 50 Cent, The Game, and not to hit on that, not to disparage them any means, but like them and all them folks, they're what hood black people should be. No. Being black, that's your own definition. You have to determine what it is for yourself. But I've come across that, man, my whole life I've been called an Oreo. My whole life I've been called an Oreo. And I'm like, damn. I don't understand that. When the N-word. Let me know if I'm talking too much, please.
You're not talking too much, dude.
Because I'm very passionate about this topic. But the N-word, I was like, I don't use the N-word. And it was in some people, I would tell them, I was like, don't use that word around me. And they would get upset, like, well, I can say whatever I want. I was like, you're right. You can say whatever you want. But if you're going to talk like that and you use that word around me, I'm just not going to talk to you. I'm not going to associate with you. And they were like, okay, who do you think you are? I said, I know who I am. I'm just comfortable knowing that I know where that word originated from. And the fact that you feel so comfortable calling someone that you care about, our friend, that, as if,
Yeah.
Because if we care so much about slavery within the United States.
Yeah.
Why are we so comfortable using a word that was used with malicious intent and regarded for slaves?
Yeah.
People less than, right? Or want to go legal. 2/3 of a person. Or 2/3, 1/3. It was 2/3. 2/3 of a person. You're comfortable calling your friend that? Your brother that? Your mom that? Your dad that? You're comfortable doing that? But if a white person does it, what? It's racist? I'm confused.
Yeah.
You call each other that. That's like having a 5-year-old, a white kid who's a 5-year-old, and he's around a bunch of black people, and all he hears them call each other is the N-word. So when he's 12, he calls all of them the N-word, and they're like, "Who do you think you are?" Hold on. This is all I know. This is what you raised me to believe was acceptable.
Yeah.
This is what I heard and I saw. But I say we, but they don't think past that. They just think like, I can say it, but you can't. No, dude, that's not how that works.
Yeah.
I'll go this far. That's not how freedom of speech works. I hate to be that guy, but that's not how freedom of speech works. Freedom of speech says I can say whatever I want, regardless of my skin color, because that was one of the biggest reasons for the Civil War. Right? We fought for equality. So like, you as a person who was once 2/3 of a person who's now considered a full person can say and do whatever you want and defend yourself. Mm-hmm. Just like that person who is not your skin color can say it and do whatever they want and defend themselves. So one cannot be right when the other can't. So I don't know. Like I said, that is relating it all back to the Army.
Yeah.
I've gone through so many different experiences in the Army, and my wife's white. You know how many conversations I have? We start having conversations and people thinking, I say, yeah, I'm married, I have kids. And they're all, and immediately when I say that, they immediately think I'm married to a black woman. They immediately think that my wife's black, my kids are black, but they're as dark as me. And, I got this proud, I'm living a proud black family, if you will, right? I'm the prime example of what that is. And they're like, oh yeah, blah, blah. 10 minutes in the conversation, I show them my family. Their face immediately changes.
Ooh.
And I can see it. I can see their face, their tone, because prior to me showing them the picture, they had no problem talking shit about white people. Talking ill about white people as if white people are the problem and the causes of all their problems in life.
Yeah.
And it's not to discredit the things that they've experienced in life, to say that there are people out there, white, black, Hispanic, who hate one group of people enough to make them feel and know what that hate feels like.
Yeah.
Right. So it's not to discredit the things that they've gone through, but I'll let them sit there and run their mouths like, hey man, you're entitled to believe what you want. Then I'll show them my family, and all of a sudden they're not singing the same tune. They start talking crap. They stop talking crap about white people. If they have to talk crap about white people, but not you're like your wife or anything. Oh, well, I didn't know my wife was a part of this discussion.
Yeah.
Man, like I said, I'm passionate about this topic because it's been the forefront of my life, my entire life. But everything happens for a reason, because God put me and my brother, and he had us adopted and put us in a place and grew up the way we grew up, almost to create a bridge, to let people know, like, nah, man, you don't need to be. You don't need to be black to use Lowry's. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
My wife uses Lowry's.
Yeah.
My wife knew what Lowry's was before I did. My wife cooks, and she's an amazing cook. She can make some amazing things. You know how when people like only black people can make homemade mac and cheese? My wife makes the best homemade mac and cheese. Let me tell you right now. I don't like cheese.
Dude,
cheese
that's my favorite too.
Cheese in my body,
homemade mac and cheese,
does not fit right. It doesn't like it. My body doesn't like a whole lot of cheese. But my wife will make mac and cheese. I will kill myself for that mac and cheese.
Let's go.
You know what I mean? She's not.
I want some mac and cheese.
Well, she's not like, let me get some Kraft mac and cheese. No, she's like, I'm making homemade mac and cheese. I tell her, like, why don't we just get some from the store for now? She's like, absolutely not happening. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So the narrative has to change.
I think that's what it is it's a narrative.
Yeah.
A lot of it is a narrative, and that narrative has now deviated into the military spectrum.
Yes.
sad because in my upbringing, you know, there was no color, you know, there was no ethnicity. There was that you put all that behind you, and now you are a warrior and a member of a team.
Yeah.
And that's what it is. Doesn't matter. There's no, you know, black, white, brown. There's no more of that. It's Army green.
Right.
You know, you are all green, you know, and you are all members of a team, and you're going to rely on your left and right, no matter who it is.
Yes, 100%.
You know, and that was my upbringing, you know, and I can, you know, it's sad to say that you had to go through those experiences. And I'm not to discredit that they're not out there, and other individuals have already experienced those themselves, especially in the military. But, I don't know, maybe because my upbringing was more on the combat arms side. So it was very different.
Yeah.
You know, we were mixed, you know, and there was that genre that, hey, there's not too many, you don't see too many black soldiers in combat arms.
Oh, my favorite term. You don't see me too many brothers over there. What are you talking about, man?
Yeah. You know, but they're there. Yeah. They are there, you know, and some of my best friends, you know, they're homies, man.
Yeah.
Straight brothers, you know, and we relied on each other on our left and right. You know, some of them mentored and guided me when I got to the unit, and they're just like, oh, this is what you do, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, dude, this is legit, man. And
because you had to, and you had to trust and believe that when you're in a situation, and you guys, I'm sure you've been in situations where you've had to trust that person who made you 20 minutes ago, you didn't like each other. But then when you get into some stuff, and then you guys are doing that, and you're like, okay, 20 minutes ago, I freaking was ready. I didn't care. I didn't care. Right. And to the point where you're like, it don't even matter, man. Like that's how much I hate you right now. Right. And then you're in some stuff, and it's not even, no words need to be exchanged. No one needs to hug or hold hands. It's it could be like a tap on the shoulder, be like, yep, I got you. You got me. And if I can shit on you, but if someone else is going to do it, they have to get through me to do that.
Yeah.
Like, we can hate each other, but for someone else outside this group to hate you, they have to go through me first.
Yeah.
And I guarantee you they're not going to get through me. And if they get through me, there's 5 other people who are saying the same thing. And
exactly.
But that takes going through something experienced together. And for a lot of people and support MOSs, they don't go through experiences like that together. They go through NTC together and like, oh, we went through some shit together. Bro, you were in the box for 14 days. You had a 14-day field problem. Guess what? S1, S4, 9 times out of 10, you guys, on all actuality, spent 5 days in the box. But you're talking about, man, we were out roughing it with the infantry guys. No, you weren't. No, you weren't. You ain't gotta lie, Craig. No, you weren't.
You ain't gotta lie, Craig.
I had some dude ask me if I seen Friday because I was raised by white people. Oh my God. I had some ridiculous questions asked to me. And I'm like, what? What? You mean just because I wasn't raised, I was raised by white people, I've never experienced black culture? Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Half of y'all don't even know who David Ruffin and the Temptations are. Who's David Ruffin? Tell me who he is. Y'all know the Temptations, but you don't know David Ruffin and the Temptations. Exactly.
Yeah,
Or the Four Seasons. Y'all know the Four Seasons? Anyway.
Who are the Four Seasons? I'm kidding.
You're older than I am. You have to know what the Four Seasons are.
But hey, I only know those because that's the music my dad used to listen to, man.
I was going to say probably
I know all the oldies that my father used to listen to and cruise to. That was it.
Well, I'm a weirdo, and I'm not going to lie to you. If I could go back to a time period.
Oh, you're that guy.
It's definitely a time period in which I was not accepted. Like,
oh, dude, I say the same thing. I say the same thing, man. Because I'll admit, I'll openly admit that, hey, it was a different time, in the past years, you know, like in my father's upbringing and my grandfather's upbringing, you know, especially as a Latino, you know, as a Mexican American, I mean, it was like you were, and at the time when my grandfather joined the Army, it was more, no matter what you scored in the ASVAB, because of who you were and you're Latino, they sent you to the front lines, and you had one job, and that was it, you know. And so, I'm not gonna discredit that. Yeah, there's some, but I can definitely just say that we've come a long way, you know, as a nation, as a military, you know, we have come a long way, and we're still learning. And we're still learning, we're still refining. You know, even now we're taught that, hey, you are always improving your foxhole. You know, that's literally what it is. You were improving the foxhole. You know, you don't just take control of a foxhole and leave it the way you found it. No, you refine it. You make it better. You make it better, and you update it, you upgrade, and you make it better for the next person who's going to take control of it. You know, and I see the military as the same way, you know, and I see leaders as the same way, you know, but I feel like now, though, we're at a time where it's too easy to write a problem off and just walk away rather than to engage it and make it better.
I think a lot of people are afraid to engage because they don't know what the right answer is, because the right answer seems to change like with the wind, you know what I mean?
I totally.
And so one day this
understand that.
This answer is acceptable, but then 5 days later this answer is no longer acceptable. But then to see how much control, you know, some younger soldier has over your career, something you've worked so hard for, and your intentions are not malicious, your intentions are not bad, your intentions are not to be racist, if you will, because now we just throw that word around like it means nothing anymore. But, or I won't say it means nothing, but it doesn't hold the meaning that it used to, at least. You know, because anything and everything is considered racist, and so, you know, you don't want to. You're afraid to address it because you're like, I'm black, but like, if I don't agree with your premise or foundation, your foundation of your beliefs, right? You know, whether you're liberal or conservative or libertarian or in the middle, right? You know, if I don't agree with you, and then you're gonna just use my words against me to say, well, this person's being racist, or this person's being sexist, or this person's being this. They're doing this thing against me because they don't believe what I believe, so therefore I'm going to say that I believe that you're doing this to be malicious, right? And so the answer changes, so people are afraid to address it. And that is one of the hardest parts, is addressing it and being like, did I do it in a manner in which I won't get in trouble tomorrow?
I guess that's one of those things, though, where, okay, you're faced with this challenge, and how are you going to engage this, or are you just going to back out and just take the easy way back, you know, and then just say, okay, well, I'm done. You know?
I think that's easier said than done. So like, you've been in longer than I have. So from when you originally joined to now, I'm sure you've come across an incident where you've addressed something 5 years ago, and that was an acceptable answer. Was like, hey, good job. You commended you for addressing it how you did. But now you have a different battle, if you will, to it, and different ways you're supposed to address it. And for yourself, who is a senior leader, do you ever think, like, should I take a step back here and kind of like maybe I can make this someone else's problem, and not to say that you would do that, but should I make it someone else's problem, or should I address this but only address part of it so I can stay within the lines that the Army has put on me, the left and right limits, if you will?
So for me, I'll tell you, it's not in me to just quit on a situation. Mm-hmm. And I'm going to look at it, I'm going to approach it as a learning point, whether it goes good or whether it goes bad. I'm going to learn something, and I'm going to learn something about myself and the individuals who are also involved in the situation. Well, guess what? I'm going to approach it as like, guys, we're about to learn something new here. All right. And we're going to learn it from two different perspectives, but either way, the main thing is we're both going to walk away here and we're going to learn something, and we're going to come up with a solution. If we identified this issue, then as a team, we're going to come up with a solution. And if I need to fix myself, well, then I need you to help me fix myself. And if it's vice versa, then hey, if we got to fix you guys and dial in your shot group, then we're going to do that. But we're going to do it together.
But aren't you afraid that you present it well, but aren't you afraid that it's going to be used against you to the point where it's going to compromise the work that you've done up to this point?
It comes down to, well, at that sense though, if I'm confident in my approach on it, and if I'm confident in my abilities to lead, and not only that, but to adapt, then I'm gonna know that, hey, if I gave it my best and I did everything within my power, then I'll follow my sword, and if I'm not going to have that top cover support, then I did everything that the book told me to do. And not only that, I also applied some more, and I'm going to make sure that, hey, everyone else is going to know that, but it is tough. It is tough because it is a different climate. And yeah, sometimes you're not going to have the top cover that you need.
Yeah.
But I'd rather be the leader knowing that, hey, I'm leading. This is what my duty and responsibility is to lead. And if it involves me falling on my sword, then hey, as a leader, I'm going to do that too.
If you don't deserve to fall on your sword, right? Why would you fall on your sword? Is that just like the act of saying, I'm a leader and these are the lashings that come with being a leader?
No, it's more of, I'm not going to quit.
Yeah.
I can't quit. And if I do, then it's all the good leaders right now, in my perspective right now, a lot of good leaders are getting out. Yes. They're getting out. And so then what are you left with?
Mediocrity.
Yeah. You're left with leaders who are put in roles that just don't have the experience. They don't have the knowledge. They don't have that mentorship. They didn't have they weren't provided the proper tools to engage in the future situations that they're going to be, all those challenges, they're going to face them, and no matter what it is, whether it's in training, whether it's dealing with soldiers, whether it's in the personal life. I know that what I can apply and bring to that table, I'm like, dude, I can't quit, because if I quit, then I'm quitting on you and I'm quitting on myself. And I can't live with that. Now you're going to have to force me to quit because I can't quit.
But that's kind of like I'm trying to play devil's advocate here, but
it's fine
because I like to. I think I was saying this to you. Because it was a J. Cole reference, but for me, I'm stuck in the middle between two generations, and for him, he was like, I'm little bro and big bro all at once, and that's how I feel because I'm like, I fit in with. Because of how long I've been in, I'm able to fit in with the older generation, and for the older generation, I'm no longer that young buck. I'm in that middle, in that grace period of like, nah, he's one of us, and it's cool. But also for that new generation, I'm still considered young enough where it's like, no, you're only 28 years old. Like, we're not far off from an age. Like, nah, you're like, what I mean? Like, you're still part of this younger generation. So like you're like a big brother though for us. And then for the older generation, it's like, oh, he's like my little brother for me. You know what I mean? So like I'm stuck in there in the middle of that, but there are soldiers who are just like on opposite ends of the spectrum. I'm thinking of one in specific who works in, I won't say, but anyway, where he works, right, and things he's going through with the soldiers that he has, he's in that generation, that new mindset of generation. So for him, it's like, well, that's an old generation mindset that you have. But he's like, I can't apply that old generation mindset to this new generation. So for him, it's kind of like he has to learn and build these new experiences. So when you give him advice, you're like, hey man, you got to be the best leader that you can be. And this is not to say you wouldn't say this advice, but like, for example, I think I can say this. We come from more of a generation where it's tough love.
Yeah.
And I was actually telling this individual this. I was like, when I came in, and when you came in, it was a tough love type of thing, because they didn't have the time or the luxury of time to hold your hand and coddle you.
Yeah.
Just like when we're deployed and we're in a combat zone and we're doing what we're doing, I don't have the time to explain everything, explain the why and explain everything and hold your hand and coddle you, make you feel better, to say, you got it, bud, don't worry, we'll get it next time. No, you have to get it right this time. Because if you don't, that means your buddies' lives. And that's a real world, that's real, no shit, puts you in a feeling you're like, okay, I'm not going to mess up. So that tough love mentality worked. But now that tough love mentality doesn't work, because a lot of them have never been in that moment where life or death is real for them. It's never been in their face like, oh crap, if I fail at this task, that means these people die.
Yeah.
So they've never been in that. So like for that individual, how do you explain that to them, that, hey, how do you get them to say, hey, I get it's a different time period and your leadership styles need to adapt, but how do you explain it to them so they can adapt?
So in that sense, this is where, and the book basically lays it out for us, but the Army literally has leadership attributes and characteristics. Mm-hmm. And they've done it right as long as you apply them, and not a lot of good, like, and I'm not I'm not discrediting a lot of leaders out there, but there's some that, honestly, they just want to be in that leadership role for the paycheck.
Yeah.
And then there's some who actually know, hey, I take pride in my job and my responsibilities and my duties.
Yeah.
And part of those characteristics is shared understanding, discipline, initiative. And the important one, though, I like to say this all the time, and you can ask all the teams I've led, is shared understanding. And that shared understanding goes both ways, and as long as we maintain that, then you have that shared understanding of the task and the purpose. And my job is to show you, I will provide you that purpose and that direction, and you have to understand that. And I'm going to understand why you don't understand that, but we're going to figure this out together, and I'm going to do that through my presence, which is another evaluation slot for us is presence, And that's why every time I sit on a board, I always ask them, what does presence mean to you? As a future non-commissioned officer in the Army, what does presence mean to you in your own words? What does it mean to be present? And I want to make sure that as long as they see that I'm present, and there's different forms of presence, but as long as they see that, and then they see that I apply that shared understanding, they're going to feed off that, In the Army, that's just the way the military is designed. The day you get off that bus, you're literally learning that, hey, you got to be at this place, this time, and in this uniform. Literally. You're being told.
Yeah.
And you're learning how to follow. And all while at the same time, you're also learning how to lead, because you're checking on one another.
Yeah.
And sometimes, though, it takes those leaders to keep that going, even all the way up. That's why there's a mentorship program, and we harped on this last time that there is a lack of that immediate mentorship.
Yeah.
And because of that, there's also an effect, and that effect is going to trickle down, and that's where it relies on us as good leaders to stay in that fight, Because if we back down and we leave, then what are you left with?
Yeah.
You know? So to me, I see it as that's my role and responsibility now, you know, because I could easily, simple day-to-days, even currently with the training and stuff that we're doing now, I could easily just be like, all right, here's what you guys got to do. Go forward, conquer. But when they see me out there, okay, do this. Hey, I'm here with you. Hey, I'm here. I'm sucking it with you guys. Let's go. Here's what we got to do. All right, show me. All right, let's go. Just that presence alone and that participation is like already, that makes a huge difference, because now we have a shared understanding of what we have to do and what the training intent is, what the end state is, and we're going to do this, and you're not alone. And I'm going to guide you along the way because you need to know this.
Yeah.
You know, and it helps. It helps when they see that, because it'd be a different outcome if I were just to be like, all right, here's what you guys got to do. Go for it. Good luck. Let me know when you're done.
Don't fuck it up.
Yeah, don't fuck it up.
Yeah.
I hope that answers the question, dude.
No, it does.
I hope that answers the question.
It does. And like I said, because for a lot of people, I mean, for your audience and even for my audience, you know, I think most of them are the military people, so it makes sense. But from a perspective of, for those who haven't gone through basic training, that military mind, that training, if you will, to know what it is to have to reset your mind, like, how do you apply that to the civilian sector of it? How do you apply that mentality of that leadership to someone who works at HEB or the post office? You know what I mean? Like, we have a rank structure in the military that allows us, or that enables us to succeed with that mindset, with that technique, if you will, of implementing followers and then training future leaders.
Yep.
But like in an organization, and I don't know those organizations, how they work internally, but from outside looking in, they don't have a basic training that they're like, you will follow this person in front of you and you'll put whatever they put in their cart, you put in their cart, and you will scan everything. If you miss it, you'll do 10 jumping jacks. Like, how do you transfer that leadership style to someone who's not in the military? Easy.
So a wise mentor once told me, he used to have a quote, and it still till this day it sticks in my head. The doer does what the checker checks.
Man, you said that so many times. I'm not gonna lie to you. I understand it in the beginning, and then I started thinking about it more, and I was like, I don't get it. Maybe I don't get it.
No, but it's so true. It's so true. And in every organization, even civilian sector, you know, you will. There is an established chain of command, essentially. No matter where you work, there's an established chain. And when it comes down to the doer does what the checker checks, that falls on the level of ownership that the individual is going to take in their position.
Okay.
It literally falls into that. So if I'm working at HEB and I'm a floor supervisor, well, then guess what? I got to take ownership in that role as a floor supervisor, and everybody under me who's working that floor have to understand that, hey, Gabe is working tonight, and he's going to be checking.
He's no joke. He will.
He lives off his philosophy is the doer does what the checker checks, and he's going to be checking. And so they're going to know because of the level of ownership that I take, and therefore that's going to trickle down. It'll trickle down so that everybody who's on that shift under me is going to know. Oh, hey, dude, hey, don't be late because he's checking. Oh, hey, make sure you're doing this. Oh, make sure you're doing this. Do it this way because, he's checking.
It's kind of like with this one boss or this manager, it's like I can slack off. I can be a little bit lazy. But with this other one, Oh no! Who'd you say is working tonight? Nope. Hey man, y'all better be on your P's and Q's because you know
exactly, dude.
He's gonna come in here
exactly,
and he's gonna be serious and it's gonna be like, we are not. I do not get paid enough here to be treated like this. But listen, I need this job. So if I want to go home tonight with some sanity, if he says we have these 15 things to do, we will do all 15 tasks. Do not do 13 and say I want to go home.
Exactly,
because I will hate you.
But here's the thing. Here's the crazy thing too, is you think about it. You apply that same concept naturally as a father, as a husband. I mean, we do it naturally.
Yeah.
You know, and you, I mean, you obviously, you sound like a very committed husband, a very committed father. You know, your children are going to know, hey, daddy's checking. Like they're going to know whether it's simple as cleaning their room and making their bed. Yeah. They're going to know when you're checking on them, because if you're not checking on them, then they know, hey, we don't have to make our bed.
We don't have to make our bed.
We don't really have to clean our room. We don't have to brush our teeth before bed because he's not checking.
It's funny. I told my daughter, I was like, hey, did you clean your room? And I finally understand. It was like a come to Jesus moment, if you will, or an epiphany. I was like, I understand why my parents did it, but I told my daughter, I was like, hey, did you clean your room? And she was like, yeah, I cleaned my room. I was like, oh, okay. Hey, so in 5 minutes, I'm going to come check your room. And if it's not clean, you're not leaving your room. Oh, hold on, Dad. Don't come yet. Give me a few minutes. Let me go check. You just said it was clean. Well, let me go check.
See?
And then she comes back. She's like, yeah, Dad, no, it's clean. I said, hey, listen, all right, I'm going to go in there. Understand there will be consequences if this is not clean to the standard in which I know you can clean your room.
Yeah.
Hold on. I just have 2 more things. And she's like, hey, I'm good now. You can come check. When she says, hey, you can come check, I know she cleaned it to the best of her ability.
There you
and
go.
There might be like 1 or 2 things that I'm like, I could be a stickler on.
But I'm not your white glove.
Yeah, I could, but I'm not going to. I know she now understands, like, okay, I'm not. If I tell him I cleaned my room, I better have cleaned my room. So now, it's applied to everything. It's like, hey, did you pick up the living room? Yeah, I did. Okay, so I'm going to go check it out. No, well, hold on. Oh, okay. So now it's ingrained, like, oh my goodness, I have to do this because he will come and look. And if he comes and look and it's not clean, I don't know what the consequences are going to be, but I don't want to find out.
There you go.
From a father perspective, this is not like employee and employer kind of thing.
But I mean, similar, you can see though, you can see how it can be applied though.
Yeah,
literally,
absolutely.
No matter what it is, And if I hold that same concept now, just in my job in the military, I know that when I get out, no matter what I'm doing, it's still going to be instilled in me, and I'm still apply it. I apply it now, even to my own son.
Yeah,
even to my own son, I apply it the same thing. He knows that when he's with Daddy, he knows that, oh shoot, Daddy actually checks this. I need to make sure. Like he just knows, and it gets to the point where I don't even have to check. He just does it naturally.
Yeah.
Because he just knows he's in Dad's house. This is something that Dad checks for.
Yeah. Yep. It's going to do it. It's going to do it. Oh man, that's awesome. You know what? That is awesome. I truly, learning about different leadership styles and techniques and things that how you apply it is definitely intriguing. I mean, you heard me complain to you the other day at work about what I was going on, and I was like, yeah, I know, but maybe I was looking for I had my it was one of my baby violin moments. I'm not gonna lie.
We all have them.
I was listening, but I was finding every way to be like, nah, well, but he does this and she does this and this. Yeah, I was definitely trying to find my way out, but.
I'm going to actually try to bring, and you can be here too. I'm going to try to bring one of my mentors who actually created, he instilled that saying in me.
Yeah?
Yeah, he did. I found out he lives in Texas.
Wow. Most of the good ones do.
Yeah, no, and he's about to retire out of the military. So
I'm so jealous.
Yeah, no, and he's actually going to be, he actually has a church.
Yeah?
He has a church.
Awesome.
Yeah. He reached out to me over Facebook recently. I don't know how, but he responded to.
He knows where you are.
He responded to a post, I guess.
Oh,
but
okay.
maybe I owe that to you. I don't know.
Oh, was it one of the ones I posted?
Yeah.
Oh, well.
So
Awesome.
No, it's good though. It works out. Hey, like you said before, the Lord works in mysterious ways.
Is he in San Antonio or is he in
Cavazos?
Oh, that's like 2 hours away. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah.
I don't like going there, but I don't mind going. I have one of my good friends. He's over there right now.
No,
so.
I'm gonna see if he can come down here. So
yeah,
that's the plan.
You know what's funny? I always tell people, I'm like, hey, they're like, yeah, I'm over in, one of my best friends I grew up with. He's in Dallas, and he was like, yeah, man, when are you gonna come up? And I'm like, I'm not gonna lie, man, you should come here. Like he lives in Dallas. Like, don't get me wrong, Dallas is my favorite city in Texas. But
Dallas is a fun city, actually.
I'm only going to Dallas when the state fair's there.
Oh yeah,
but I'm not going there just any random weekend.
Not even go see the Cowboys.
First off, they're not even Dallas. They're in Fort Worth.
Yeah,
the stadium's in Fort Worth. That's how crappy it is. Because they knew Jerry Jones knew he wasn't going to make any money off the Fort Worth Cowboys. It was Dallas Cowboys.
Hey, still love for you Cowboy fans out there, though.
No, absolutely not. Absolutely not. I posted something on my Facebook, and it was like, we're just gonna get this out of the way now. And it was like breaking news: Cowboys eliminated from the playoffs. And I was like, yeah, and I posted it on my social media, and I got a bunch of love because of like, there's very few Cowboy fans on my page on my Facebook.
Oh, they're diehard though.
If you're a Cowboys fan, I probably won't be friends with you. I'm just not gonna lie to you because it's something about you and your fanhood that I just don't like. But, but yeah, no, like I posted it and I got a lot of love because people were like, yeah, Cowboy fans every year it's their year. Skip Bayless, oh, the Cowboys were great, and then they're like, you're like, explain this loss to me. Well, it wasn't our fault. It was the ref's fault. Got it. 100%. I hear that every game, and then, playoffs come because they're going to the Super Bowl and they're like, well, next year's our year. How? You have the same people.
It's the same. No, what's changed?
Yeah. Dak Prescott is not throwing past 11 yards.
Well, they got rid of the running back this year.
I mean, Zeke, once he got paid, was like, I don't need to run as hard as anymore.
Zeke's now a Patriot, so
yeah, because he signed a 5-year contract, and most of that contract was guaranteed.
Yep.
But I don't need to work as hard for you as I was before on my rookie contract. Which is not to say is what he did. I'm sure he was definitely trying, but at the same time, I'm sure he was also. It's a weird dynamic in the NFL, right? When you're especially like in those positions like a running back or a wide receiver, where you're only as good as your last game.
Essentially, yeah.
And so, like when it comes to selling yourself, you can't give everything you have on every down and every play because when it comes to the off season, your body's gonna be talking back to you, and you're only in year 3, Ooh. And year 4, year 5, that's the time where either you're going to commit to this team or you're going to get traded. And depending what you did on those years before is going to depend on the team you're going to land.
Yeah.
But if you think about Julio Jones, he gave everything he had to Atlanta. The moment he went to Tennessee, everyone was like, oh, man, they got Julio. And then you saw him play, you're like, I guess you can keep Julio. We didn't want him that bad. You know what I mean? Because he wasn't what he was.
Yeah.
Right? And it's because his body and everything he had given to Atlanta, and Atlanta refused to get rid of Matt Ryan and give him someone who's going to throw the ball. Like, don't get me wrong, Matt Ryan has a bomb out of arm and he can throw the ball. But he's inaccurate as heck. And he's not going to get the ball where Julio is 6'3" at 6'4", and that's the only reason Julio was catching those balls. But, like, again, just using him as an example, like, you have to, like, you're only as good as your last game. It's kind of like Michael Thomas. Like, I'm a diehard Saints fan, but Michael Thomas is the dude. I'm like, dude, you were great 2 years ago. No one knows what you haven't played. You've played 3 games last year, and in those 3 games, you played like a total of 12 downs. Bro, like you are no longer the number 1 wide receiver. You cannot come out like I'm number 1 wide receiver. No, Mike Evans is better than you, and Mike Evans wasn't even that good when he came into the league.
Dude, yeah.
Calvin Ridley is better than you, and that guy's freaking. He's who replaced Julio. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. Jarvis Landry's better than you, and Jarvis Landry was on the team.
Let's go Miami! Shout out Miami Dolphins team.
Jarvis Landry Jarvis Landry is a third string wide receiver.
It don't matter. He started his career with Miami. That's what's up. That's all that matters.
And then he went to Cleveland.
Hey, that was his fault.
Yeah, he should have stayed in Miami. I don't think Tua would have thrown him the ball, so he's all right.
Hey, go easy on Miami, all right? You can talk about every other team here, but just Miami, that's the one team, you got to have a special clearance if you're going to talk.
That's crazy. You guys are going to win 5 games.
Yo, bro, in the preseason, maybe. We're going to win some more after that, though. All right?
5 games in total.
No.
5 games in total.
All right, bet. Hey.
100%. 5 games in total.
Bet.
Miami's not winning more than 5 games.
Bro, what are you going to do when they make the playoffs and then they're like contending?
And they lose in the first round? You guys are like the Cowboys. You guys, what good is it to go like, oh, we made it to the playoffs and then lose in the first round?
Oh, dude. It's a learning point. All right.
It's a learning point.
Everything's a learning point, dude.
Cincinnati is committed, right?
Oh, that's because they got a stud quarterback.
That's a team who's like, man, we got it. We got it this year. And then every time they get there and they're just like, I don't know what to do with my hands. They're like, Coach,
dude,
what position am I again? My job is to protect the quarterback?
Well, I'll tell you this. I'll tell you this right now. Miami is a team of faith. All right? You want a testament of faith? Be a Miami fan or put on that Miami jersey. That is, you are putting on the shield of faith and you're going to battle.
You have to.
Yeah, exactly. Because you got guys like you, right? 5 games. That's all you're going to get. Well, guess what?
You know what? The Texans are going to be better than you guys.
Yeah.
And who's their quarterback?
See, no one even knows.
Who's their number 1 wide receiver right now? The Texans.
Dude, it doesn't even matter. Who they got? Well, what's his name?
I don't know.
No, their quarterback is like Watson, right? Or something like that. Deshaun Watson or something?
Deshaun Watson plays for Cleveland.
Oh, that's right. Never mind. Yeah, that's right. He went to Cleveland. And he got in trouble. So he had to sit out a few games.
He got in trouble before he went to Cleveland.
Yeah, he got in trouble. The investigation closed, though, when he got to Cleveland.
Yeah. And I think he got suspended like 11 games or 8 games. I'm not going to lie to you. I was really mad the Saints didn't pick him up. And the Saints had an opportunity to pick him up.
That would have been a better fit for him.
I agree, but guess what? The Saints
Saints actually got a good quarterback though this year. They got Derek Carr. I mean, but they got a young quarterback too who can feed off that. Oh, the young guy, the guy they had last year.
Jameis Winston?
Is that what it was? That's his name? Number 5, I think it was. Number 5 jersey.
Are you talking Andy Dalton?
Bro, never mind.
Andy Dalton?
No, not Andy Dalton.
He got replaced by Joe Burrow. Listen, Andy Dalton should have been replaced a long time ago.
They had that young black quarterback.
Jameis Winston.
Yeah, I think that's who it is.
Jameis Winston's not good. Jameis Winston got eye surgery. He's like, I'm the guy eating W's. Guess what? He's throw picks.
He's young. He's young.
He's young.
And there's no offense there anymore.
Where? So, in New Orleans?
Yeah, in New Orleans.
What are you talking about? Alvin Kamara? Michael Thomas? Chris Olave? What do you mean?
Bro, I didn't know you watched so much football. You're over here like, do you got these guys' mailing addresses too? Jeez.
No, I'm
serious. Holy crap.
Oh, my, what do you mean?
No, that's legit though. I like it.
I will say this. Dennis Allen should not be the head coach. I think he should have got fired a long time ago. I'm mad Sean Payton's at Denver. He should have stuck with the Saints and fired Dennis Allen, but that's just my 2 cents. I think we should call it a day though.
Yeah, I think so too. I think this was good. This
absolutely. We went on a long tangent on football. I should have done that.
No, I like it. Hey, football is a good way to end it. There you go.
I agree.
The season's on the approach. Let's go. I love football season.
It's a happy note.
Now I know what to do. Like now my weekends are going to be like, I look forward to them now.
Yeah. Oh, I listen. Oh man, it's so exciting.
Because it's football time.
All my girls have Saints jerseys. And I get my daughter
You're
to say,
from Arizona, though. You're Cardinals.
Okay. See, no, I'm
You
not.
literally have a Cardinals license plate on your truck.
This is a psyop, bro. It throws you off. Listen, I'm from Las Vegas, Nevada, and then I moved to Arizona.
So then you're a Raiders fan.
We didn't have the Raiders. Do you know what Las Vegas had when I was growing up there? UNLV.
Ooh.
That's it. And
So you know about Coach D'Artagnan?
No, I don't watch college football.
Biting the towel.
I don't watch college football.
Damn, this guy.
So you listen. We can talk NFL. The moment you start talking college, I'm like, yeah, I'm good.
I got you.
But yeah, no. Anyway, yeah, I look forward to it. My daughters say "Who Dat Nation" all the time because that's what it's all about. So
I think the Saints play the Dolphins this year. Actually,
we do, and you're gonna lose.
I think we do. Yeah. Hey, we're gonna have to come and have a little
and lose.
We're having an episode after the game.
No, you're gonna be too upset.
And we can even wear jerseys.
You're gonna be upset. I have a Manning jersey too.
Let's go.
An Archie Manning jersey. Gosh.
Hey, comment down below your favorite team.
Yeah.
All right. Comment down below.
If it's not the Saints, if it's the Cowboys, you could just put ... and I would understand.
Yeah, or emotes. Little emojis.
My daughter calls them emojis. I said, hey, that's a smiley face. She goes, no, that's an emoji, Dad. I was like, oh my gosh, times are changing. Anyway.
All right, guys. Hey, thank you all. Thank you all so much. Hey, Q, once again. Appreciate
Absolutely.
it. I look forward to some more coming up, guys. Hey, thank you guys for tuning in. Don't forget, follow the links, Mediocre Dads, follow Q, give him some support, give him some love. His socials are also posted down below as well.
Appreciate it. Yeah.
And don't forget, comment down below your guys' thoughts. Give us your perspectives on anything we're talking about. Hey, whether it's good or bad, hey, let us know.
Absolutely.
Either way, we're learning from each other. All right. And I'll definitely see you guys on the next one. Q, you have yourself a good evening, and can't wait to do this again.
Absolutely. You too. Thanks for having me.
Out, team.
Out.